It's going to be a fun 4 hours. How you doing?
This is so silly. I love this. Just randomly you and I getting to hang out and mostly talk about the draft for 4 hours. That's my ideal Monday night.
It really is. And we both found out this afternoon that we were going to be doing this.
Yeah.
So this really is kind of spur of the moment. And it's funny because this day is usually, in Boston. You're going out, you're hanging out. I was looking at all, my friends post on Instagram. They're along the route. Some people were running. Congratulations, of course, to Tim McCone.
Yeah.
Who ran the marathon in under 4 hours. So great job to McCone. And I came in here and worked. Had the big board I had now this show, but I'm not complaining because it's going to be cool. I do love Marathon Monday in Boston, though. It's just such a different energy. It's so much fun. I remember, so I went to school in upstate New York. So there's, people in New York, New Jersey, whatever. They're not necessarily from around here. And I remember explaining to people one time, like, oh, yeah, it's Marathon Monday. Like, what are you talking about? You go to the marathon? Because in so many other cities, it's just like this thing.
I had no idea.
No, this is like a big thing here. And I always love taking part when I can. I have family that's run it. I have friends that have run it. I've never run it. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But I do very much enjoy going. I did live 1 year, like, on the route. And I was so excited when I got it. It was like right after college. I rented this place. And I was so excited because I'm like, oh, I'm on the marathon route. It's going to be so cool. I used to go as a kid. And then, so the first year I moved there, my friend got married that Sunday in New York. So I was like, oh, man, I've been looking forward to this all year, but I got to go to the wedding, right? So I go, blah, 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 whatever. It was a good time. It was a good time. I don't mean to put him down. But I'm like, the thing about the marathon is there's always next year, right? 120-something times. It had never been interrupted. So my friend's wedding was in 2019. So 2020 was COVID, so no marathon, and then I moved, so I never got to do that. But it is always, as an outsider, Kendra, for you, like coming here, discovering that, what was it like for you to experience Marathon Monday?
My first year in Boston, someone was like, oh yeah, what are you doing for Patriots Day? And I was like, what the hell is Patriots Day? And they're like, like the marathon. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know I was supposed to do something for that. And then my buddy who was running the social for the Revs at the time reached out to me and he was like, hey, we're all getting together at this place if you want to come hang out and watch the marathon with us. And I was like, okay, I didn't know that it was seriously a thing here. People have the day off, they go party, they go drink. So I wound up going and watching the marathon with them. But it's such a surreal day here. I mean, obviously I remember like the tragedy and everything like that happening, but I didn't know that it was such a big thing here. But I'm glad that we still, and I consider myself we as Boston now.
Sure.
I've paid taxes here for 5 years. I think I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, I think since I pay taxes here, that I can say we, but I'm glad that it's still such a big deal and that the city kind of shuts down and like respects like the marathon and everything. I think that that's really cool.
The real movie, I've never done this. I'd like to do this 1 year eventually, just to say I've done it. I don't know if I'd enjoy it or not. I think I might. The people who go up to Lexington and Concord at like whatever it is, 5 a.m, 6 a.m. for the reenactment, and then come down and see the marathon after that. Like, that's really doing it. It was funny. I was in here on Friday, and they were doing, because it was the anniversary of Paul Revere's ride, they were doing some of the stuff for the reenactment, and they were showing it on TV, and Zoe couldn't get over the people dressed in costumes. Like, it's the real deal. No, it's the real deal. And Rachel Dratch from SNL showed up. Like, she's local, but...
Yeah. Is McCone in here tomorrow? Is he taking the day off, or is he here?
No. I don't know, because it's me, McCarthy, and Phil Perry tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, good for McCone. I was going to say, if he was in here with his feet bleeding and all of that crap, do you think he taped his nipples? Did anybody ask?
So we talked about that on Friday. He said that's never been a problem. I said, does he get, like, fancy shirts? He doesn't. Tim McCone does not have sensitive nipples, I guess.
Good for McCone. I don't know if I ever needed to know that, but I'm proud. That's a flex.
Well, because we were talking about the Office episode, right? Was he going to eat a bunch of fettuccine Alfredo? And
I was listening partly on Friday, and I remember him saying that he was going to eat fettuccine Alfredo, but I didn't know that was an Office reference.
Yeah, but no bleeding from him. That's kind of the people who. So I have an uncle who runs it every year, and he'd stay with us sometimes before, and we'd go pick him up, at the finish line or whatever, and like he would. And now he runs marathons. Like, he runs in other cities, and he's a big time runner. So he's not somebody who's like gearing up just for this, but like, he would get done, we'd drive home in like 2 hours. Outwardly he'd be like fine, and was like, I would need a week.
I wouldn't even finish. There's no way.
No, I don't, especially because during training, I don't know how this stuff works. I mean, I'm not like a medical trainer, but it's like, you don't run 26 miles until you run the marathon.
Yeah.
Like, you build up to like 21 or 22, And McCone was like, yeah, it's, and I asked him on Friday, I'm like, is there any more to it?
I heard this part.
I feel like you'd get to whatever you ran up to practicing, you'd get up to like the 22nd mile and just wall. I feel like that would just kill me. So I don't have it in me. And shout out to everybody who does. It's really incredible.
I would rather walk 10 miles than run 1 mile.
I can run a mile.
I can. I just hate it.
I don't mind 1, 2. Where would like the tipping point be for me? Probably more than 2 miles is where I'd be like, all right, I'd rather like walk. Would you say you'd rather walk 10 than run 1?
Yeah.
I think I'd rather run 1. I'd definitely rather walk. If we're going like by 10s, I'd definitely rather walk 30 than run 3. But walking 30 miles just sounds stupid. So maybe we need a better conversion there.
No, I hate it.
Because that's more than a marathon.
I hate it so much. I get so bored. I have terrible lungs. I could not do any of that. Here's the thing. I'm sure I'm going to have a quarter life crisis at some point, like most of the people who probably ran the marathon today. And I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to run the Boston Marathon. Like that will probably happen for me at some point. But the first few weeks or months of my training, I'm going to hate it. And I'm probably going to vomit all the time.
Because I was looking this up during the week because I was curious. There's an event that's like running a marathon on all 7 continents. I think.
Yeah.
That's Dana Char did it. Like the Antarctica Marathon, that's got to be brutal.
Oh, I thought it would be brutal running today. It's like not even that cold out.
This is like exactly what you want. Kind of cloudy, 50s into the 60s. I think this was like the ideal running weather. There was one year, when was it? I think it was like 2010, 2012, somewhere in there, where it was like 80 degrees. And they were telling people like, do not, unless you really know what you're doing, do not run. We get you've trained for it, all of that. Do not run. It is dangerous today. And a bunch of people still ran, and they had like, people bailing out. But yeah, that year was wild. They were like telling people who were on the side watching, like, hey, watch out for people. Like if somebody needs help, call it out, like point to them. It became a community activity. That's
so crazy. I was watching a girl on Twitter today who was saying that instead of eating the gels while she runs, she eats candy. She said that it works way better and she can just carry it in her pocket.
Look, if that works, I shouldn't judge. If that works for you, good for you. But like, how much? That's a lot of candy over 26 miles.
It was like an entire bag of like Sour Patch watermelons.
The sugar would just like get me. I'd just be sicker.
Isn't that just what the gels are?
Is it? I thought they also had like electrolytes and stuff.
I mean, yeah, probably.
Is sugar electrolyte?
I mean, sugar, I guess, like, it's probably just sugar and electrolytes, honestly.
All right, well, I'm clearly not a nutritionist here. I think that's pretty clear. But we're going to do our own 4-hour marathon tonight, me and Kendra, on this show. We're going to talk a ton of draft. You got to, not just football people, but college football people. Maybe we'll even do a college football minute. Non-draft college football minute. Spring portal's open. There's some stuff going on. We're going to talk draft. We're also going to do a ton of Celtics with the playoffs going on. Bobby Krivitsky, he covers the Celtics for Forbes. We'll talk to him in the 8 o'clock hour, get some updates on Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, where those guys are at physically. Look ahead at the rest of this series. Red Sox today, they finally won on Marathon Monday. They lost the last few years. Are they starting to turn a corner? We're still going to do in or out. We're not going to do Murray's musings. We're going to do Kendra's considerations with a K. Although Skaz pointed out to me that Middleton's musings also works.
I was going to say that in our Slack chat earlier, but I didn't want to rain on your parade.
No, let's make it harder than it needs to be. In the spirit of the Boston Marathon, let's make it harder than it needs to be. We'll do those at 8:50, 9:50, plus your calls. You want to join us on any and all of it, 617-779-0985. I want to start, though, Kendra, with the NFL draft. It is draft week. We got a big information dump this morning from a lot of the insiders, Adam Schefter, Todd McVay. Some of it relates to the Patriots. Some of it just interesting stuff about this draft. It's right around the corner. I want to sort through what we believe, what we don't from the news today. We'll do that next as we're off and running. It's Alex Barth and Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
You're listening.
Again, no Joe Murray tonight. You're stuck with what'd you call us on Twitter, Kendra? The kids?
Yeah, the kids table.
I will totally take being 31 years old, still being included with the kids. I'm so in on that.
You are the second youngest on air talent besides me.
I'm good. Thank you. Keep it coming.
It's true.
I saw a family friend I hadn't seen in a while over the weekend. I was like, how are you, 28, 29? I was like 31. Like, wow, that hurt. I'm not going to lie. That hurt. But, all right, Kids Table Show up until 11. Alex, Barth, Kendra Middleton, you want to join us, 617-779-0985 as we are kicking off draft week. This makes me feel like a kid covering the NFL draft because it's just talking ball. It's just talking football. It's all fun. And we started to get some intel today. Adam Schefter had a big piece. There was some podcast stuff. Rich Eisen. There's been some quotes out there. Todd McShay had some interesting quotes, specifically about the Patriots and Will Campbell. I will put this caveat, though, before we start talking about this, Kendra, that Bill Belichick was on Pat McAfee last year, about a week or two before the draft, and said the real intel, the good stuff from the teams, doesn't start to get reported accurately until about 12 hours before the draft. So up until this point, I would say 90% of what we were hearing, it's a rough estimate. That was agents. That was people on the players' side, whether it be agents, I should throw in like college coaches, things like that, hyping their guys up. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hype your guys up. Go for it. That's fine. You will never hear a report this time of year that a player is behind schedule healing from an injury. You'll never hear that. I think this was the first trickle of the real team intel. And the reason you don't hear from the teams is because they don't really set their boards until the 30 visits are done, which was the end of last week. So now you're starting to get some of that intel. The big one from Adam Schefter, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter going top 3. That obviously impacts the Patriots. He also mentioned Kayshon Boutte could get traded, so that was in there. A lot of stuff about Ashton Genty flying around. What did you make of anything stand out to you? Any big thing from the news dump this morning? I think to me it was maybe, now there's conflicting reports on Shedeur Sanders, but I hear what Schefter says. Is that the final nail in the coffin that Carter, Hunter going top 3, not coming to New England?
The Shedeur stuff was huge to me. The Genty stuff, obviously picking up for the Jaguars, is kind of rocking my world at the moment, but kind of getting confirmation, allegedly, that the Eagles are not trading A.J. Brown.
I had confirmation on that. It was just common sense. That never made a lot of sense. They had, was a $60 million dead cap number with him.
Who started that rumor? Because it happened here.
I don't know.
It was somebody here, because without a doubt it was somebody here. Not in the station, but in Boston.
Yeah. Well, it's not happening. That's out. And in a big picture, the trade from 4 is not there. I don't think it's going to be there unless somebody gets stupid, and that somebody could be the Patriots. I'm sure if they want to, they could move the pick. But are they going to get enough for it? And I've even seen some people say, just because they're so scared, and I get it, everybody at the top of the draft has questions, all those prospects have questions, but it's less scary whiffing at 9 if you get another pick than whiffing at 4. But if you're selling the pick for less than it's worth, especially this is essentially a new front office. I know Elliot Wolf has been here, but essentially a new front office. It's their first ever pick. You don't want to set the precedent as the front office that's giving away draft picks like Halloween candy. Like, you can't be doing that. So the Genty stuff, to me, if there is a trade for the Patriots, that's where it's coming from. The Raiders at 6 can be a Genty team, although there was some reporting today that they might not be, but what's a smokescreen this time of year? Whether it's the Bears at 10, whether it's the Cowboys at 12, whether it's the Raiders maybe trying to jump the Jaguars. I think if the Patriots are trading back, it means somebody really, really, really likes Ashton Genty. Which is kind of crazy in the modern era, but it feels like this whole draft could hinge on how teams view a running back of all positions.
For me, I don't see, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I said this on Toucher and Hardy on Friday, I don't really see anybody. I think that the first pick to really kind of make sense as far as a trade, in my personal opinion, and you know better than anybody else at this station, is probably the Panthers at 8. I feel like that's the first
for a trade down.
Yeah.
So the only thing, it makes sense, but I do wonder, the whole thing with Genty, right, is value. And running backs don't have the same value that other positions do, and on and on and on. Well, he's incredibly talented. I think the LaDainian Tomlinson stuff, one, stylistically, they're different players. Even if Genty's great, he's going to be great in a different way than Tomlinson was great. I honestly, a comp I love for him, and it's not quite Tomlinson, but a very, very, very good player, is Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah.
See a lot of that in his game, which, again, tremendous player. But like,
and that's why Jacksonville fans are carrying this as far as they have.
Oh, because I get that. It's nostalgia. But how do you maximize the value of an incredible player whose position doesn't provide the value needed with the pick? You find somebody who wants him and you trade him. And you can say, even though he's a running back, if this team trying to move up clearly believes he's a blue chip, you say, well, there's only three blue chips in this draft. Running back or no, there's only 3 blue chips in this draft. You want him, you're going to have to pay to get him. So that's where I kind of look at. The first trade down, whether it be at 8, whether it be wherever, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somebody moving up to get Ashton Genty. I don't think it's going to be somebody moving up to get a quarterback. Carter and Hunter are going to be gone. Like, you're not moving up for them, right? Who else? It's all so even in that group that's like Campbell, Membu, McMillan, Warren, Graham. It's all so even. Unless you're really hunting to fill one position, there isn't a ton of incentive to move up because they're all going to grade out similarly.
And the other issue is that Jacksonville just doesn't have the offensive line to kind of play around with adding a finishing piece right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I just from what I have gathered, it seems like there is a discrepancy between what Gladstone wants and what the front office wants, which is why there is like the Mason Graham and Ashton Genty rumors kind of flying around right now. So but here's the thing. If God forbid or whatever, Shedeur does go at 2 and this whole thing gets flipped upside down, people are probably going to be trading. Obviously that affects who the Patriots get, who Jacksonville could get. What do you even do at that point?
Well, if you're the Patriots, we'll see. Like, maybe they take Abdul Carter. If they really want to trade back, you're certainly going to get better offers then to trade back. And that door back open. So it's not even, there's some conflicting reports. I don't remember the name, but I saw one reporter say today, 2 sources I both trust explicitly. I'm paraphrasing here, but it's like 2 sources I trust. One told me the Giants are taking Sanders, another told me they're not. So somebody's wrong. Right? And there's been reports that it's conflicted inside the building. That sounds like, to me, you have a coach and GM who are on the hot seat who want to make sure they can build the best team possible. And the owner came down the hall for a pre-draft meeting last week, saw the big board and said, we don't have any quarterbacks up there? Well, we only have 2 old guys and Tommy Cutlets. I think you guys might want to go look at that again. And then the Giants go on the whole quarterback tour last week and work out all those guys again. I think if you're one of those teams, though, and this is where maybe the wires are getting crossed, whether it's the Giants, whether it's the Browns, are they looking at Shedeur more seriously at 2 or 3, or is it moving up from 33 and 34 and trying to jump the Steelers at 21 to get them? I think there's going to be multiple quarterbacks in the first round, and that can happen. I think it's more likely to happen.
Me too.
You could say if Shedeur doesn't go in the top 3.
Here's the other thing, too. Like, I don't understand why, and maybe from an ownership perspective, all owners have a different level of ball, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is that why would you risk taking a guy who probably wouldn't even have gone in the first round last year? And we saw how that draft class worked out. Like, that was a really good quarterback draft class, in my opinion. Probably better than anybody assumed it would be. But he would not have gone in the first round last year. So why are you going to throw your early pick at that?
So I think there's been a little bit of revisionist history on that. Like, last year, before Dion came out and said he wasn't going to the draft, he was QB4. He was QB4 into consensus. Now, he's played a whole other season and a half since then, and there's more information, but I don't know. He might have gotten late, but I think there's an argument to be made.
You think he would have gone before Bo? Because I don't.
That's fair. Maybe when they got into it, because I mean, there's stories out there about like his interviews haven't been great, and he's kind of
him saying, I have to be successful because I don't have a trust fund, so I have no choice. That grinded my gears.
Wait, he said that?
He said that. Oh my God, yes, he did.
That?
He said that in an interview last week. I believe it was with ESPN. I might be mistaken, but I think it was an ESPN interview where he said, I don't have a trust fund, so I have no choice but to be successful. Girl, you grew up with a gated fence. No.
Hey, maybe he doesn't have a trust fund. He has something.
you don't think that if you decided to walk away from football right now, you'd never have to lift a finger a day in your life?
At the very least, he's got the NIL. I hope he saves some of that NIL money.
Exactly.
For him to say
what
his dad
crazy.
Did. Yeah, that's a little nuts. But like, I still think, how far does he fall? So let's say he doesn't go 3, right? He doesn't go 2 or 3. Now you got the Patriots, you got the Jaguars. How far is he going to slide if he doesn't go? Because if you're a Patriots fan, you want him sliding as far as possible. So now you get some of those teams ahead of you in the second round trying to trade up, and it's going to push maybe a tackle or an edge rusher or a receiver, Luther Burden, Ariante Aristary, those kind of guys down to you. How far can he really get? I think he can get kind of far. He's definitely going to get out of call it the lottery, right? The earliest I can see him go, so there's 2 sleeper teams I've seen for him that interested me, and these are just people acknowledging it's sleeper team. Miami at 13, Arizona at 16. After that, I think you're talking about it has to be a trade up, and you're probably talking the mid-20s if Pittsburgh doesn't take him at 21.
See, I have him going to New Orleans at 9.
I don't see it. I don't see the fit, and there's been some reporting in New Orleans that he's not their guy. So
they just don't have really any option either. So I feel like they're going to get stuck with their tail between their legs.
Well, the whole Carr thing is weird because he has a shoulder injury, but like, does he actually? I think the Saints posted a picture of him like doing something like, shoulder's not hurt, but I think they'll wait. I could see them liking Milroe. I could see them liking Jackson Dart. Whether it's trading back up into the first or taking somebody in the second.
I think Jackson Dart's going to go to the Rams.
That's an interesting fit for him. I don't hate that.
I think it makes sense.
Why?
I think because it's the perfect slot for them to take them where they're sitting. They need to start thinking about replacing Stafford. And if you give McVay 2 years to work on that kid, come on.
But it never works out that way. Like the Falcons were supposed to have a year to work with Michael Penix. Right? How'd that go?
Yeah, but I mean, hey, if that's the worst thing that happens to them, they have a guy sitting there.
That's true.
They don't have anybody right now.
If Shedeur gets to 26, you still taking Jackson? You still predicting Jackson Dart to the Rams?
Yeah, I think he fits better with just their culture, don't you?
I don't know. I could see the whole, it's Hollywood, right? Shedeur Sanders, he's been on that big stage. He's flashy. I don't think Jackson Dart's flashy. I think he plays a flashy style.
You don't think he is? Do you not follow him on Instagram?
No.
Oh, you should. He's the flashiest guy in this draft. He's all about the chains and the fits and yes. He is. If you took him and put him in Hollywood, he would be on their Instagram fit check pictures every single week.
This is the kind of stuff I miss by not liking to use social media, but I could see Shedeur in LA. My bold quarterback prediction is the Browns trade up in the first round and take Jalen Milroe.
I mean, he was Dan and I got into this on Saturday. Yeah. The fact that he was invited, and the NFL has allegedly said that they want to avoid the Will Levis situations over and over and over again. I don't personally believe that when I put my tinfoil hat on, because this is such a weirdly random draft with not a lot of star talent up at the top of it, that I think that they need an Alabama quarterback name recognition situation. Yeah. And they don't really care about his feelings.
I think Dart is out, right? He's not going now. He originally was, but I think the updated list, he's not. I think it's just Ward and Milroe that are going, right?
Yeah, I believe
From the quarterback. Yeah. So, Browns move up. Their OC's Tommy Rees. He worked with Milroe in 2023 at Alabama when he had his breakout year. The Browns are going to do something weird at quarterback. You want my real tinfoil hat theory on the Browns? I'll give you that. Kendra's going to get you the headlines. My tinfoil hat theory on the Browns. More draft talk. We'll get back to the Patriots too, plus your calls. 617-779-0985 here on the Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub.
Alex Barth, Kendra Middleton with you, filling in for Joe Murray tonight as he makes his way back from WrestleMania. We got Skaz back behind the glass as well. We're talking draft before, and part of what I like about this week is we're so locked in on what the Patriots are going to do, and especially the last few years where the Patriots are picking towards the top of the draft. Like in the past, you would talk about the league and you would talk about the Patriots in the same breath because is this guy going to fall to 15, to 21, to 25, wherever they were. But the past few years, you're so locked in at the top, you're only talking about 3 or 4 players. But this week, you kind of get to talk about the league as a whole. So this is a take I've been working on. I think the Browns are going to take quarterback in this draft. I don't think it's going to be a 2. I think they're going to trade up from 33, 34, whichever one of those they have. It's them and the Giants. They're going to trade up from one of those spots and take a quarterback. I'm split on who they're going to take. I could see the argument for Jalen Milroe. Tommy Rees worked with him at Alabama. Had good success with him, all of that. And you're probably not going to have to trade up that far. Mid-20s at the highest, you're not giving up that much. If they want to get really bold, though, and not just draft football players, but put their franchise, I don't want to say put their franchise on the map. They're the Browns. They've been around forever. But if they really want to get flashy, we're talking about flashy before. Tell me if this is flashy enough, Kendra. They have some picks. Do they have it in them? Jump the Steelers at 21. So let me start here. Take Travis Hunter at 2. Jump the Steelers at 21 and take Shadur Sanders. GM Andrew Berry said earlier this offseason after the Colorado Pro Day, man, I wish I could have them both. He could.
I remember
He's willing to make it happen. He could.
But do you not think that Browns fans would crucify him? Because just the quarterback...
Oh, yeah, it's so Browns. It would be a disaster because it's Cleveland. But, like, isn't that such a Browns thing to do?
It's the most Browns thing to do, but I think that that's why it's easy to talk yourself into it. But just thinking about all of the fans going absolutely insane, and you've obviously seen all the jerseys with like all the quarterbacks' names down it. I think it'd be exciting just because obviously the two of them would be reunited and whatever. Right. But that just sounds so Cleveland. And to be honest, which they're not smart, which is why we're talking about them doing this.
Let me be clear. I'm not saying it would work. I'm saying I could see them doing it. There's a difference.
Could you imagine Deion's kid being on the same team as Deshaun Watson? And that being like a guy that he has to work with every single day? I think Deion would lose it.
But like, is Watson even really still in the picture there? He tore his Achilles again. So he's not even going to be like on the field. Or not tore his Achilles, but he had the setback in the rehab. He's expected to be out for the year. Is he rehabbing there or is he doing his own thing? If I'm the Browns, I'm letting him do it on his own. I don't need him in the building.
Probably just from like a lawsuit perspective, it's not the brightest thing to be doing, but I don't know, dude. Like, he's got to be around. Like, he's still technically on the team.
I wouldn't be he's I think the only reason they're not cutting him is because they don't have to give him a roster spot this year. They're going to throw him on IR and be done with it. And that you're eating the money one way or the other. I can't imagine he's still any part of the plan there. He shouldn't be.
But here's the thing. I personally don't believe anyone is stupid enough to take that contract. Do you?
No. So
he's done. They're just going to eat that money forever, which isn't so funny.
It's just, do you eat it with him on the roster or not? And whether you cut, like, he's not going to be on the roster this year, even if you don't cut him, because he'll be on IR. He's not going to take up a spot. But it's so Browns. They could do anything. They could trade for Kirk Cousins. That's another. I have so many Browns quarterback theories. They're going to trade for Kirk Cousins, but he's making them wait to make the trade because he doesn't want to get Penixed again and like get traded there, and then they take Jackson Dart or Milroe at 33 or whatever. But that's just a little tinfoil hat theory for you. It's silly season, and we're running down the clock here. Nate in Florida actually has a Jags take for Kendra. Nate, thanks for calling.
Hey, Kendra. I don't want to turn this into a Jaguars talk radio, but so there are all kinds of rumors down here that the Jags are going to go for Sanders and cut ties with Trevor Lawrence. What do you think?
That will never in a million years
Is that somebody just trying to get you mad?
Ever happen. Trevor is there as long as Trevor wants to be there. I don't think that there's no chance. He also just signed it. Like, no, it'll never happen.
The quarterback, the like, not really quarterback teams I see in this draft are the Dolphins, the Cardinals. Do the Seahawks count? I know they just gave Sam Darnold money, but it's like not over that long of a time frame. And the Rams, as you said earlier, they've got an older quarterback. And then I guess I'll throw the Raiders in too. They could take somebody to couch their odds with Geno Smith. I don't know that the Jaguars are at the bottom of my list for quarterback teams, but they're down there.
They are definitely at the bottom for me, without a doubt. Probably bottom 5.
Yeah, who's their backup now?
I know it's not Mac Jones.
Right.
I can't remember. I mean, I know that they need to shop for a backup.
Maybe they need a backup.
Yeah, they definitely do, which is fine. I don't think that they need to worry about.
Well, but it's funny because in this draft, it's going to be weird. Like, is Tyler Shuck somebody you're drafting to be a low-end starter or a high-end backup?
That's the thing
There's Will Howard. There's so many guys right on that line.
Oh, it's Nick Mullins, of course. That's
He's still in the league. Good for him. Good for him. Nick Mullins still getting a check.
They have to take someone later, but I don't think it's something that they can afford to address until day 3.
All right, we started all this, meanwhile, talking about some of the news that came out today, and it sounded like the Patriots more and more likely a landing spot for Will Campbell. I'm still okay with it. I think people are too worked up over the arms. David Andrews spoke at an event last week, and I thought put it very well. If you know how to block, you know how to block. And you've heard Mike Vrabel kind of talk about this too, that if there are guys with long arms who don't know how to use their length, and there are guys with short arms who are very technically skilled and can make it work. I think Campbell falls in that second group. The arm length isn't nothing. I'm not going to ignore it. And I don't think the Patriots or any NFL team is going to ignore it. But I think the way you look at it is, okay, he has shorter arms. You watch it through that lens. Does he manage it? Does he manage that deficiency? Yes or no? I think he does.
Love you mean it, but it almost feels like you're being a little bit of a Pats apologist right now, because I know that you love the analytics and the nerd of it all.
No, I don't love analytics.
I know, but you love the nerd of it all.
Sure.
You can't tell me that you feel good about it.
I mean, no. But the thing is, I don't feel good about. I feel better about it than anybody else that's going to be available at that point. And that's not to say I feel bad. I just think anybody you're going to take at that spot is a question, right? We're going to talk about Will Campbell's arm length. If they take Armand Membu, we're going to talk about the risk at him flipping sides. I don't love that. If they take Tyler Warren, we're going to talk about his age and his late breakout. I don't love that. Also not a premium position. Ashton Genty, not a premium position. Don't love that. Ted McMillan, we're going to talk about his athletics. We can go on and on and on with all this. I'll take the guy that I saw play the position at a high level in the SEC.
Barth GM hat. You have the pick of the board outside of the assumed top 3. You can't tell me you would still take him given the opportunity. Who would you take?
So, in the Patriots situation, would I take?
Yep. Let's say the first 3 are all chalk.
Campbell.
I don't believe you.
I do. For the Patriots, if I was another team, maybe not. The fact they have such a glaring need at left tackle is a part of it.
Well, yeah, but I feel like okay, can you talk to me about all of this kind of switch around yeehaw of going from him to the Jalen Walker rumors that were going around a couple weeks ago? What was that all about?
So I think where the Jalen Walker stuff comes from is they like him as a player. They really like his leadership. They're still probably an edge rusher short.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's a definitely.
Well, I phrased that poorly. They really need, they don't need another. They have a bunch of guys that are going to middle in and be situational. Right? They need a guy at the top of the depth chart. It's trying to find a guy who can anchor that pass rush, be a Matthew Judon type, and I think some of the versatility helps as well. And I think they like that. And I think there's probably a view of, hey, we have some deficiencies on offense, but let's drop another elite piece into this defense and just really get the defense going, and we'll work on the offense next year. I just don't love the idea of leaving your young, budding superstar quarterback unprotected on the blind side. And it's not a great draft for tackles. If you're not taking a tackle at 4, it's going to be real tough to get one. If you told me that they're going to take Jalen Walker and they know they can move up to get Josh Connerly, fine. I understand there's other ways to get a tackle after 4. After 38, there isn't. You're not going to get a starting left tackle. I'm sorry, Colton Miller's not getting traded. It's Vidarian Lowe again.
I get the
that's
why.
what it's going to be.
I really get the why. It just, to me, because I get that this draft is just so shallow in so many places. But I also kind of point my finger that it's a huge failure on their part for not doing something about this sooner.
But I don't think you dig the hole deeper by ignoring that mistake. And I know people will be like, oh, he was he would have been the 4th tackle or 5th tackle on the board last year. If Joe Alt was in this draft, I wouldn't be taking Will Campbell at 4. I'll tell you that right now. It would be Joe Alt. If Olu Fashanu was in this draft, if Caden Proctor was in this draft, he's the projected top tackle next year, I would take one of those guys. They're not. You can only draft in the group you have. This is not a superstar draft. This is a starter draft. I think Will Campbell can be a starting left tackle in the NFL. They need a starting left tackle. It's a premium position. He's played it at a high level in a tough conference. It just makes sense. It's not flashy. It's kind of eating your vegetables, but sometimes you have to eat your vegetables.
Would you be happy, or how would you feel as, I know that you grew up a Patriots fan, whatever, you kind of have to be more objective these days, but how would you feel if they wound up trading back? Would you be happy about that?
I mean, let me see who they take, but yeah, if they can trade back, great. That would be the ideal. Yeah, if you can trade back and you get somebody else from that group.
I know that you said that it's not the sexy thing that the front office should do, but
I mean, still need a tackle. You got to by the end of the second round, you have to have a tackle. So, assuming they can still get that done, yes, trade back's at the top of my list. I just don't think it's going to be there.
I think I'm the only person in pretty much all of college football fandom who I honestly think that Membu will have a better career.
I mean, he's a really good right tackle. I've seen them try to move guys from right to left the last few years. It just doesn't. Look, if they hadn't signed Morgan Moses, let's say they'd signed Dan Moore instead of Morgan Moses. It's Membu at 4, and frankly, I don't think there's much debate about it.
Yeah.
They didn't. They signed Morgan Moses. They have a right tackle. So I'm with you. I think Membu's a good player. I just, that switch for any player scares me. There's only one guy in the NFL right now that did that successfully, and it's Tristan Wirfs. There's a handful of guys that failed. Yeah, and he's a much better prospect than Membu was. And that's not to disrespect Armand Membu.
But it's true.
Yeah, but he is. So there's a little tackle talk for you. 617-779-0985. You want to call in and weigh in. We're going to talk Celtics coming up, too. We'll have Bobby Krivitsky from Forbes, the Celtics writer. He will join us in the 8 o'clock hour, get some updates on what's going on with the team heading into Game 2. Plus, again, your call, 617-779-0985. Alex Barth, Kendra Middleton, here on the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.5.
Back here on the Sports Hub, Alex Barth, Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray. We've been talking draft. We'll grab a couple of your calls, and then we are going to talk Celtics too. Bobby Krivitsky will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. But first, let's go to Tom in the car. Tom, our intern Trevor told us we'd better take this call, so I'm looking forward to this. What do you got?
Okay, so I first of all, hi Kendra, hi Alex. How are you guys doing?
Hi, well, how are you?
I'm good. I typically hate these kind of phone calls when I hear people call in with these trade ideas.
Okay.
But honestly, like I've been hearing you guys talk about how this is a starter draft. It's not a superstar draft. And I'm wondering, in the back of my head, something pops up and says, okay, so the Patriots keep 4. What are the possibilities that they could trade a third this year and a first next year and get back up into the top 10 for 2 top 10 picks this year and pick like somebody like Warren from Penn State or something like that because of the discount?
Yeah.
Is that at all possible?
They could probably do it. Thanks for the call, Tom. The thing is, I'm not touching any future picks. If you've listened to me on Sunday mornings, you know I have this take about this draft. Future picks are the gems of this draft because next year's class projects to be much better.
So good.
Why borrow from the future and take from a greater class to add for lesser class? On the flip side, so like if I'm the Patriots and I'm moving back, I want a future pick. If I'm moving back this year, I want to move up next year. I don't want, like move back, switch picks like 8, 9, 10, right? And then get a second and a third? No. Give me one of those top 50s this year and then give me a top 50 next year. You're going to see the picks next year valued much more, the future picks valued much more than they traditionally are, if any move during this draft, because next year's class is much better. If the Patriots offered a future first to move up to 15, I think that would get done in a second. I would take if somebody's giving me a future first, I'm pretty much taking the trade no matter what in this draft. That's it. That's an incredible asset to have. I would not go throwing that away blindly.
I just can't justify anything to give up picks for next year. Next year's draft is so much better. You'll have a better idea of who you need, what you want, especially once you get through, kind of. I think that I don't think that based off of the betting markets, I really do expect the top 3 to at least be chalk. So you know what the Patriots are going to be getting. I don't think we're going to really get any curveballs unless they're the first people to trade. But there's no way, unless there is a gun to my head, that you could get me to give up anything for next year.
Nope.
Even some of the people who are the second round next year, I think would be a first rounder in this year's draft.
And certainly. And on the flip side, if I am moving down, I might sacrifice and take a little less in this draft to get something next year. They come away with a future top 50 pick. You ask me what I really want as a fan, Kendra? That's what I want. Give me the ammo for next year. Let me go move up next year and get a stud next year because those guys aren't in this draft. Jim in the car does have a thought on this draft. Jim.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, you got me?
Oh, well, good to hear you guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank
so
you.
Can I just, so I'm a little nervous about so I guess Hooper's done this year, and then we got Hunter that's going to be done in I think it's 27. So what do you guys think about tight end the class this year, and what how are we going to roll with our tight ends with the draft? What do you guys think about that?
Thanks. Thanks for the call, Jim. It's a good tight end draft. It's not something you need to address at the top. I think there are some good developmental tight ends on day 3. Jake Ferguson, if he falls, he might go late day 2.
Mason Taylor.
He's probably going to go higher in the Patriots should take a tight end, but he's really, I think he might go first round.
That's a hot take.
Well, he's going to be the third tight end off the board, right?
Yeah. His projection's like somewhere in the 40s, I think.
Right. So last time I looked on the consensus board, it's 50 flat. So Tyler Warren's going to go top 10. Loveland's going to go, 15, 20, somewhere in there?
Yeah.
In a copycat league, after Brock Bowers had the year he had, we going to go 25 picks without a tight end?
So are you looking at like Elijah Arroyo or someone like that, maybe?
Even that, I'm fine if they go day 3. Okay. Again, Mitchell Evans, Terrence Ferguson, Thomas Fedone, Jackson Hawes. But they should add a tight end. It's a great
tight end class. It's
a position that generally takes a little longer to develop. So you get that guy in here early, like the caller pointed out. Contracts running up soon. Those guys are older. I wouldn't hate if the Patriots took a tight end at some point, like early day 3, maybe late on day 2. I'd love Mason Taylor. I just think he's going to go. That kid, you talk about impressive. to be as technically polished as he is, as young as he is. And it's not, his dad played in the league, but it's not like his dad was a tight end, right? Really impressive. I think he's going to be a top 40 pick. He could maybe, team really gets desperate at tight end, sneak into the back end of the first round. I could see it.
Okay. I don't hate that. I mean, there's I feel like tight end has been a position we've seen in the last couple of years really change and resurrect itself.
Yes.
It's no more just like a primarily blocking position. These two tight end sets have become so popular across the league.
Yeah, and you got some tight end needy teams down there at the bottom, so I could totally see it. All right, Kendra's going to get a quick check of the headlines, and then the Celtics up 1-0 on the Orlando Magic. They kind of set the tone in the second half of that game. Did they put it away for the series, or can the Magic fight back and make this thing interesting? We'll do that. Plus, Bobby Krivitsky joins us here on the Sports Hub.
Tire Studios. The 18-time world champion Boston Celtics are looking for number 19.
Tatum pull it up.
Hear every playoff game right here. Your home for Boston Celtics basketball. WBZ FM and HD1 Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Happy Marathon Monday. Your winner today for the men was John Career, and the women's winner was Sharon Lachetti. I'm still waiting for someone to correct me, so I'm going to assume that I've said her name properly. She also set a new course record by 2 minutes today. The Red Sox also are winners in honor of Patriots Day. Finally, they beat the White Sox to close out their series thanks to a huge performance from Walker Buehler. And all of the Christian Campbell haters, well, you owe him an apology today. They will play the Mariners tomorrow. And in other news around the NBA, the Pistons are up on the Knicks 25-18, and we've got the Clippers and the Nuggets at 10. As far as NHL scores, we've got the Capitals beating the Canadiens 1-0, Blues, Jets 0-0. We've got Avs Stars at 9:30 and Oilers Kings at 10. Sports Up headlines were brought to you by Valvoline. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, the official oil change of busy people. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub, Boston's home for sports. I'm Kendra Middleton, and your next update in about half an hour.
Start your day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Work through your day.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
In the final seconds, we'll tick off the clock. The Celtics take Orlando's best shot in the second quarter, and in the second half beat them at their very own game. And the Celtics strike first. They win game one by a final of 103-86.
It's Alex, Barth, and Kendra Middleton with you here on the Joe Show. No Joe Murray tonight. We're taking you up until 11 o'clock. You want to join us, 617-779-0985. We will, trust me, we will get back to the NFL draft. You know me and Kendra will do that. But I do want to talk some Celtics and some NBA playoffs, as the Celtics are up 1-0 on the Orlando Magic. They won yesterday, big second half. It just continues to be impressive to me that, look, Jason Tatum, I thought he was solid. Obviously not his best game, but was able to contribute in some other ways, but it wasn't his best. Jaylen Brown still seems to be feeling his way back through that knee injury. Kristaps Porzingis wasn't great. That's their big three. None of them are great. Celtics found themselves in a dogfight fight, still won by 20. Because their secondary scoring is probably a top 10 team in the NBA. Just their secondary scores. Derek White obviously went nuclear. They got some great production off the bench from Peyton Pritchard. It's not just the star power of this team, and they have as much star power as anybody in the NBA. They're going to go back-to-back because 7-8 players deep, they can beat the bag out of you, and they flex that right away.
I have a hot take, and it's kind of mean.
Okay.
But I'm not sorry about it because I'm a Jaylen Brown truther. I think that this Jason Tatum quote-unquote injury with the negative x-rays, I'm not going to say he's not injured. I'm just saying the x-rays are negative. Sometimes a sprain is worse than a break, whatever. I think that this was the best thing for Tatum and the worst thing for Celtics fans, because now if he doesn't clutch up in the way that everyone needs him to, he has an excuse. And I don't think that he's capable, which is why we've seen Jaylen Brown do what he did last season, why we saw, Peyton Pritchard and Derek White step up last night. I think that this is the best thing for Jason Tatum and his ego and the excuse making and whatever. Not that I think he's an excuse maker. I just don't think that he is that postseason killer in the same sense. Terrible for Celtics fans, weirdly great for Jason Tatum.
But he has been. He didn't do it last year, but I was there. He put 50 up on the Sixers in a Game 7. He can do it. He's had problems with that wrist for a while now, My point is, I don't think it matters. Because if Tatum can't be the killer, and look, Jaylen Brown's dealing with that knee injury as well. I trust Drew Holiday with the last shot. I trust Derrick Henry. I trust Derek White with the last shot. It's still kind of in football.
It goes in and out day to day of who the best player is for the Celtics every single night, but you're not going to get through the entirety of the postseason with both of them hurt. It's just not going to happen.
But they did last year.
But that was different. Like, they didn't need Porzingis through the stretch of it, and they had enough time to figure out how to play without him and win. When your two top guys go down or are not 100%, I mean, that's not, you can't rely on Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and the rest of your bench to get you through an NBA postseason.
If what you got last night was the worst you're going to get out of Tatum and Brown, I think you can. I don't see those guys giving you that much worse than that. I really don't.
I don't either. I don't see them giving you worse
unless
than
they can't get on the floor because they're hurt.
I don't think, and I don't even think it's that. I think that they're both the two of them are the type to tough it out. For me, it's just that this postseason is too long, too grueling, and the teams this year are too good.
You think in the East?
I think the East, it depends on who they pull, obviously, but I don't think that they can get through whoever comes out of the West. No, not at all.
So that's another conversation. I wanted Celtics Nuggets last year. I think that's the best series. I think those are the two best teams. The Thunder are still young. They remind me of where the Celtics were a couple of years ago.
The Lakers for me.
But that team took the Warriors 6 games. The Lakers, I mean, it's Luca, it's LeBron. We'll get to the Luca stuff, by the way, later on. In the East, they should walk through. I mean, the Magic are one of the toughest opponents for them. They're 4-6, and I know there's one fluke end of the year game in there, but they're 4-6 against the Magic in the last 3 years. The Magic defend them well, defend them hard. You saw it in the first half. They just ran out of scoring last night. But the Bucks are a shell of what they used to be.
Injured as well.
Yeah. The Knicks are the New York Knicks. I don't need to say much more than that.
No, that trade, I was talking about this on Saturday too. The trade that they had with Karl Anthony Towns and Dante DiVincenzo hurt both of those teams.
It made no sense in any way. I mean, the Cavs are a really good regular season team, but we saw that they tapped out right away against the Celtics last year, head to head and I know it was different in the regular season. The playoffs are different. Head to head, they didn't look close last year. Who am I missing? That's like it. I can't even think of anybody else who's relevant in this conversation. What's Miami Heat? No, they got
obliterated.
Right, whoever the Hawks, whoever, like they should walk through. I kind of wanted. I thought this might end up being through the Eastern Conference portion of the playoffs. I thought this might end up being the toughest series the Celtics are going to have, the closest series they're going to have.
Do you not worry about the Pacers?
No, I don't. Again, we saw the Celtics against them last year, and I know it was a close, even though it was a sweep, like the games are close, but I feel like they got worse. I don't think they're a better team than they were last year.
I think they're a less lucky team than they were last year.
That doesn't help either.
Yeah. I don't know. It just, for me, it feels, I have just a feeling that sure, they might be able to walk through the East because the East hasn't been strong for a long time. Last year, the Celtics got lucky. Whatever you want to chalk it up to, they're champions. You have to respect the fact that they're champions. But I think whoever comes out of the West, if both of them aren't at least 80%, I don't think it's going to happen.
I'll give you that. The West is battle tested, and there's some dogs out there. I just think the advantage the Celtics will have, and they had this last year, and we saw this play out in real time. They coasted. They coasted through the first three, and they came into that finals rested and ready to go. Whereas you had the the Mavericks were in some battles, and Luca came in banged up, and other guys came in banged up, and you're going to have somebody coming out of the West who's been through the gauntlet. And this is why it's important the Celtics take care of business and not let whoever they face linger. They need to wrap these series up in 4 or 5 games so they can get healthy, because that could be a big difference. How many games they've played versus how many games the Western Conference team has played.
I was just going to say, do you sit one, if not both of them, for game 2?
I'm definitely not sitting both of them in the same playoff game.
You can't.
I'm not doing that. I said before the playoffs I wouldn't hate if they managed Jaylen Brown's workload a little bit. I think what I would do, because they got up big in that fourth quarter, and Joe still had him in until I think like the 5-minute mark, and they were up. Jaylen I might sit here and there. Tatum and some of the other guys, Porzingis too, I put in this because you got to be careful with him. It's more like
glass bones and paper skin.
I trust that second unit, and part of it's second unit too, right? I trust them enough that we're up 15 minutes with 5 to go. Let some of the backups see if they can close it out. And if it gets back to like 7 or 8, then fine. You put Tatum or Brown back in. But I'm not against the managing the minutes. I don't think I'd sit both in a playoff game. I don't think Tatum needs to sit. Brown I might sit because that's more we don't know what's up with Tatum's wrist, the injuries. Brown, we know there's some structural chronic issue there with his knee. I might let him sit. If they sit both of them for a playoff game, that's Joe. At first, I don't think that's who Joe Mazzulla is at all.
I told you in Slack that I wanted to talk about how he was yelling at Jason Tatum to get up off the court. I've never seen anything like, not only yelling at Tatum to get up, like push the trainer. That was awesome. Good for Joe.
Oh, it was great.
I want old NBA back. I'm not the biggest Joe Mazzulla fan. I think that he's entertaining. I'll give him that, and I think he's a good coach. But that was awesome.
That was great.
That was awesome. Like, I need more of that across the NBA, if anything. I want old school NBA back. I think a lot of these guys need to toughen up. I think the NBA has become the sport closest to soccer with just all the sissy bullcrap, and I hate it.
Oh, they want it. It's not. They want to be soccer so bad. The in-season tournament, and they want to change free agency to be more like the transfer window, and like, no, the NBA's lost their way. It came up on my Twitter the other day. The end of the 2010 finals, which I know is a painful memory around here, but it was 82-79 in the final seconds with the Lakers going to line and put it away. 82-79 in Game 7 of an NBA Finals. We will never see that again because nobody will ever defend to the level that you need to defend. And I know both teams were a little cold offensively in that game, but nobody will ever defend to the level you need to defend to make that happen. That NBA is dead and gone. It ain't coming back.
Obviously, the first game was what it was, but if you kind of remove that from the board, does Orlando not make you a little bit nervous? It's not that they have, any kind of crazy star power. I know that they have, obviously, Paolo Banchero, who is the biggest rising star who doesn't get enough love in this entire league to me. But Orlando weirdly has had your number all season long, and it's like I get some of those games people were hurt or people sat or whatever, but they still won the series against you this season. For the
last 3 years, they've given the Celtics trouble. No, I said it earlier. I think of any team in the East, Orlando's the one that could maybe stretch this out into a series. I think the Celtics did a real good job of kind of reminding them where things stand in the second half of that game. But if this ends up being their longest series, now I still think Celtics are going to win, and they should win. And if they lose, it's a massive disappointment.
Gentleman's sweep,
sure. But I can see Orlando giving. I think Orlando's a tougher matchup for them than the Knicks would be. I think Orlando's a tougher matchup for them.
That's a crazy take.
I think so.
I don't hate it.
The Knicks, it's stylistically, they can go. We saw it on opening night, what they can do to the Knicks, right? The only team I think that's tougher is the Cavs. Because the Cavs do come in with that confidence of being the one seed and all of that. But the Magic have just played them tough for a few years now. And you saw it in the first half. You saw in the first half what it can look like. This is a team that really defends. They have good length. They stay disciplined on the three-point line. They can get back into the paint. They do a good job of it, and they'll play physically, unlike most of the teams in this league. How about the kids taking over the airwaves late at night and doing a whole get off my lawn, remember when thing about the NBA? The last people you expected to do it. I think Bobby Krivitsky's he's like a year or two older than me, so we'll count him as one of the kids. He might have some nostalgic takes on the NBA. I know he's got takes on Celtics Magic and some updates as well on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. We will talk to him next here on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Alex Barth, Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray tonight, taking up until 11 o'clock. You want to join us talking Celtics, talking the NFL draft, whatever else is on your mind. 617-779-0. Try that again. 617-779-0985. It's been a long day, and it's only Monday. Let's see if Bobby Krivitsky's pronunciation is any better than mine tonight. He covers the Celtics for Forbes. I was in the building last night for Game 1. Bobby, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Alex, I can only assume with NFL draft coverage and everything else you got going on that we're just going to attribute that just now to a lack of sleep.
You know what? I've given that number out so many times I should be able to do it in my sleep. I've given it out in place of my own phone number, just on instinct a handful of times, which is awkward. But we got you on the right number here, Bobby. Celtics win Game 1, 103-86 over the Magic. Tale of two halves. Orlando kept it close through the first half. Celtics pulled away in the second. Which is more indicative of what this series will ultimately look like, the first half of that game or the second half?
I'd say the second half. It's a great question, but the reality is that Orlando just doesn't really have a reliable source of offense to keep up with the Celtics. And the Celtics do an excellent job of taking care of the ball, so that limits transition opportunities for a Magic team that doesn't shoot it well to begin with. The Celtics are very disciplined when it comes to not committing fouls. That was something that the Magic relied heavily on to prop up one of the lowest scoring offenses in the league in the regular season, was getting to the free throw line. But the Celtics are as good as any team you'll find at minimizing those chances for the opposition, and they weren't really creating second chances either. So I think that is more reflective of what we saw over an 82-game sample size and why most people think that at the most, this is a 5-game series.
Barth and I were just talking about kind of what this road might look like for the Celtics. Obviously, it's not really fair to ever look past an opponent, especially an Orlando Magic team that has kind of given the Celtics a run for their money over the last 2 seasons. But I think with this current Celtics roster, it's safe to assume that hopefully and most likely they will move on from this round. Who do you see out of the East maybe giving the Celtics the hardest time before maybe like we see them move on to whoever they wind up facing out of the West?
Yeah, it's kind of the vanilla answer, but it is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that's a team that, similar to the Celtics, does not put a bad player out on the floor, especially after the moves they made at the trade deadline and adding DeAndre Hunter. And they've had players who have taken massive leaps in their careers this season, from Darius Garland to Evan Mobley, who might win Defensive Player of the Year and became a first-time All-Star. And then one of the most important keys for Cleveland is that Donovan Mitchell has become more willing this season to sacrifice and take a back seat. So whereas in years past, he might not enjoy seeing some of those names I just mentioned go off while he's just a spectator or even distributing to make that happen for them, this season he has no issues with that, and it's helped this Cleveland Cavaliers team become that much more formidable.
How different is this Cavs team from last year? Because we saw them tap out early in that series.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Jared Allen didn't play and Donovan Mitchell eventually had to bow out because of injury. So it's a dramatically different team in terms of the health perspective, the coaching change, and what Kenny Atkinson, who might win Coach of the Year, has done for them. And then, like I said there, with individual growth, Donovan Mitchell being more willing to sacrifice, and the fact that this roster is much better than it was a season ago, it's a significantly changed Cleveland Cavaliers team to the one Boston saw in the playoffs a year ago.
I think the obvious question that we've got to ask you tonight is what your thoughts or what you're hearing about Tatum's injury.
Yeah, so he came out afterwards and he said that he got the x-ray and it came back clean and he wasn't worried about it. He was pretty brief with his answers, but provided information and said that it hurt in the moment, it was throbbing, but he wasn't too concerned about it. And when he was over on the bench, he had his trainer, Nick Sang, with him, but he didn't seem to be overly cautious or trying to do anything to it, and he stayed in the game, earned those MVP chants from a crowd that went berserk once they saw him finally rise to his feet, as Joe Mazzulla was yelling at him to do. So we'll certainly monitoring it moving forward, but ultimately he says that he's fine. The x-rays came back clean, and he stayed in the game. So I think all of the signs that we have are encouraging about the situation.
Again, we're talking to Bobby Krivitsky, covers the Celtics for Forbes. Real quick before I get to the other injury, have you heard anything about the reaction to Mazzulla or Tatum's mom asking if he wanted her to go back to the Magic locker room? It was a lot of storylines coming out of what was being reported as a pretty minor injury.
Yeah, she was certainly upset about it and didn't enjoy seeing her son yanked out of the air like that. And look, they called it a flagrant foul upon review on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I don't think that's just the case of, hey, there's a superstar lying on the ground holding his wrist here. We have to upgrade this. It's the fact that he grabbed them out of the air. And Wendell Carter Jr., he doesn't get the flagrant foul, but he did have his hand on his back. He didn't really extend it, but it's just a dangerous play when you have someone that high above the ground and that happens. So to me, the Celtics, they're certainly upset about it, but they knew coming in this was going to be a physical series. Sometimes, regardless of the opponent, in the playoffs, things can go over the line, and it did just a little bit in that situation. And they understand that they have to respond to that physicality, both from a physical standpoint, but also a mental one. So Jaylen Brown throughout the game is telling his teammates, they're younger than us, and they're being the more physical team right now and thinking that we're going to act softly, and that can't be the case. So this is another situation here, Alex, where the Celtics, they have to respond to it and match that physicality of Orlando because it's really the only thing this Magic team has going for it. But also that means understanding and staying focused mentally when they try to challenge you in that way.
What do you think of Jaylen Brown's performance and specifically the knee? He sounded leading up like he was encouraged. He felt like he was doing much better. Did you see that on the court? And is that going to be something the team needs to continue to manage moving forwards?
So he said afterwards in the locker room that the knee is feeling much better. And I do find it interesting that he played the entire third quarter and none of the fourth quarter. And you can point to the score of the game there and it being, hovering around a 15-point lead in the final frame. It's still something unusual for a playoff rotation to see from Jaylen Brown. And certainly it speaks to the situation with his knee and just trying to manage that to the best of their ability. But what I was most impressed with by him was the hustle plays and the energy that he brought. It certainly wasn't his best scoring night, but he's taking charges. He's getting steals. He's running back onto the court after he sets Drew Holiday up in the shots block. He's the first one to the ball and ultimately leads to a three for the Celtics. So I really thought the energy, the hustle, those leadership type of plays that he made, those made a huge impact on the Celtics.
Bobby Krivitsky from Forbes with us here. I have one last question on my part for you. If you take away the Celtics' big three, who do you think needs the biggest kind of postseason for the Celtics to be able to be successful?
That's a great question. I would say it starts with the definition because some people will point to Kristaps Porzingis in that big three. I would say it's Derek White. I think those are your top three right there for the Celtics, which then means that my answer, of course, is Kristaps Porzingis. And whereas last year he was more of a luxury, the field has gotten better. And so as they go deeper into the playoffs, assuming that's the case, of course, I think Kristaps becomes a necessity and that much more important to the Celtics prospects of continuing to advance and ultimately be the last team standing once again. So it was a really good game for him defensively. I thought he did an excellent job protecting the rim and being disruptive. He needs to shoot the ball better, though, against their top-flight competition. And this is a Magic team that is the best in the league at limiting three-point shots and makes. So having someone who's 7'2", that plays well beyond the arc and can shoot it as well as Porzingis, that's a nice weapon to be able to utilize, but it only does so good when he's not making them, and on top of that, only attempts 2 threes as he did in Game 1. But ultimately, I do think Kristaps is the guy the Celtics are going to have to rely much more this season than a year ago.
Before we let you go here, Bobby, big story in the NBA today, ESPN's behind-the-scenes piece on everything that's gone on really the last 2 years with the Dallas Mavericks, Nico Harrison leading up to the Luca Doncic trade. What did you make of all of that, and is it going to get worse for the Mavericks before it gets better?
Yeah, I will put it this way, Alex. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel for Mavericks fans because they went all in on a very short window around guys that have very concerning injury histories. And then on top of that, Kyrie Irving tears his ACL. And so, there's encouraging reports about he's targeting an earlier return than anticipated, and maybe he's back as quickly as March. But what is he going to look like? And can he stay healthy? And even if he does, he's on the other side of 30 at a position where players typically don't age gracefully once they have that much mileage on their tires. So for the Mavericks, they got one draft pick back in that deal. They didn't get Austin Reeves. there's just the cupboard is bare is the reality of the situation for Dallas. So I think that this is just going to continue to look worse and worse and worse. And the only thing from a PR perspective that can change it is if ownership is willing to throw Nico Harrison under the bus and fire him and say it was all on him. And they don't seem to be willing to do that at the moment.
He is Bobby Krivitsky. He covers the Celtics for Forbes. You can find him on social media at Bobby Krivitsky. He will be covering Game 2 tomorrow. Tomorrow, right?
Wednesday.
No, we got 2. So it's really weird that they do this. I'll be quick because I'm sure there's a commercial break coming up. But despite the lack of travel, they put 3 days in between games 1 and 2. And then 1 in between games 2 and 3, which is very odd.
It's all over the place. Well, whenever it is, Bobby, follow Bobby, and you'll know when Game 2 is. Bobby Krivitsky on Twitter, again, Celtics reporter for Forbes. Bobby, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Appreciate it, guys. All the best.
You want to call in and talk Celtics? 617-779-0985. But, Kendra, I do want to get to some of that Dallas Mavericks stuff, some of that Nico Harrison stuff, because it is wild. However bad we thought it was on the outside, it seems like it's even worse. So Kendra's going to get you caught up with the headlines, and then we're back. Nico, what's going on in Dallas? We'll do that next here on the Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Your Marathon Monday winner for the men was John Carrier. And the women's winner was Sharon Licchetti, who set a new course record by 2 minutes today. The Red Sox are winners in honor of Patriots Day. Finally, they beat the White Sox to close out the series thanks to a huge Pistons are winning 52-47.
chanting for you to be fired. That's an experience that none of us, no one's chanting for for us to lose our jobs. Why shouldn't you be fired?
Well, one, I think I've done a really good job here, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to judge from totality, from beginning to end, and so I think I have a really good working relationship with Patrick.
That was arguably the most infamous man in sports right now, Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Mavericks. It's Alex, Barth, and Kendra Middleton. We got Skaz behind the glass. He gave his end-of-season press conference today, and it was brutal. I don't even know if that was one of the worst quotes that came out of it, but I'm sorry. We can't judge him by what? They won 50 games and went to the finals last year. They won 39 this year and got embarrassed in the play-in. We're supposed to talk about it getting better. He talks about he can't be judged by the injuries. As we found out today in a tell-all piece from ESPN, he blew out the medical staff, who everybody there apparently loved, and replaced them with these two guys that were just fighting all the time. That ESPN piece, by the way, by Tim McMahon, it's ugly. It's really ugly there. This is going to be an all-timer in terms of like a narrative to follow, a storyline to follow, the downfall of a team that's not yours so you could enjoy it. This has the potential to be right up there. This could be special.
Have you been following anything Mark Cuban has had to say through all of this?
A little bit. If he said anything today, I didn't see it.
But I don't think he said anything today, but just his comments through all of this, I think have been very well said. He's been very upset about all of this. But we were talking about this earlier in Slack, how insane it is for him to have said that he didn't think that Mavericks fans would care as much as they have about trading him.
Yeah, let's hear this. This one, I saw this. I know people joke, I can't believe it's not Sentinel, the fake Twitter account, right? Or, I thought it was fake. I thought it was some fan goofing around. I'd have Skaz pull the real audio, and even then, I'm like, is this AI? The last time
you never know now.
The last time I felt this way was when Drake dropped the remix of Hey There, Delilah. Like a month after everything with Kendrick, which what a business decision that was. But this was right up there. I listened to it. Apparently this is real. This is Nico Harrison today talking about trading Luca Doncic.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
I didn't know that Luca was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level. But really, the way we looked at it is, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and we would have been winning at a high level, and that would have quieted some of the outrage.
Let's get that first part again, Skaz, one more time, just because I got to believe it.
I did know that Luca was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level.
No, why would you know that? You're only the general manager. You're only at the game, seeing people wear the jerseys, cheer when he comes on the floor, seeing the tone of what's being said in the city. You're only there when they put up the Dirk Nowitzki statue about, loyalty never fades away. You're only there for all that and people comparing that to Luca. No, why would you know that? Why would you know how important that guy is to the organization?
Did you not look at the jersey sales?
No, apparently not. The guy used to work for Nike. Remember, he was hired away from Nike.
Yes, he was the guy that blew Steph Curry's presentation, actually.
I couldn't believe somebody like that. Wait, he called him Seth and showed him the presentation for Kevin Durant?
Yes, that is exactly what happened.
All right, so now maybe I do believe these comments, because there seems to be a pattern here. And then what was that he said at the end?
He said, if we were healthy, basically.
Well, no, he gives the lineup, right? When you put that lineup on the floor, I don't know if you have that again, Skaz. When you put that lineup on the floor,
Anthony
you can
Davis,
win. Yeah, here we go.
And Lively. We feel that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively. We feel that's a championship caliber team.
Oh, that's a championship caliber team? Well, they probably have a good idea of what a championship caliber team looks like, because they had one last year. And they blew it up.
Someone did ask him, is Luka Doncic a championship caliber player? And he said, that's an unfair question.
No, well, first of all, yes, he is. They were a step away. And I get it. You were a step away. You need to do something, not that. And then in the story today, he's upset because he put on a little weight in the offseason. He was still scoring. He was still producing.
Has a guy ever sounded like less convincing either? Like he has zero conviction. He sounds timid. He sounds afraid. Like
He sounds like he's doing ASMR.
yeah, literally. Like nothing about this guy. If I'm a Mavericks fan, I'm obviously checked out at this point. They, record number of people pulling out of season tickets and stuff like that. But how does this Trent was joking back here that he's in, broadcast classes and stuff like that. And if you went to your professor and were like, I want to ask, like, why haven't you been fired? They'd be like, that's kind of a bad question. In this case, I think it's the most fair question you can ask.
I was going to say, coming back, it never got there with Gerard Mayo. It never got that bad with him, and that was bad last year. That was bad.
Did you watch his return to Dallas?
Yeah, he hid in the tunnel.
No, and his fans in Dallas were cheering him when he was scoring for the Lakers. I think that says so much. But the thing that I think grinds my gears the most about this, you didn't know how beloved he was to that fan base, but you think that Anthony Davis is a better is going to be more. You think Kyrie Irving is going to sell jerseys? Klay Thompson, who's on probably, I don't even want to say the back nine of his career because that's generous.
Yeah, he's walking up the fairway on 17.
You thought Anthony Davis was the one that's going to really, rally the fans behind this team? Are you effing kidding me?
So I kind of was working under the assumption and by the way, this is great for the NBA. I hate it for the fans of Dallas. I feel for them. I do. This is great for the NBA. And Nico Harrison, I hope he doesn't get fired because he's such a good villain. This trade is the gift that keeps on giving. Every few months, we're going to get some other angle about why this thing was a mess. And we're going to get to come on here and it's like T-ball, teeing off on this guy. But I was working under the assumption that he had this galaxy brain idea and he maybe didn't get along with Luca and he thought he knew what he was doing. This guy's out of shape. I'm going to move on too early and set it too late. And not that that's right. Is it possible he legitimately didn't understand what he was doing in the moment? Because he sounds like a guy that himself is surprised that Luca was traded from the Mavericks. Is it possible that he's just so in over his own head that he didn't recognize the potential the fallout of what was to come? Because he seems genuinely surprised by all of this. And somebody who is in their right mind would not be surprised by the fallout of trading a player like that from that organization who just took you to the finals.
Did you see the graphic of one of Luca's buddies making a comment today saying that if Luca was just a lazy drunk, how would he be playing as well as he has been this season?
Which is kind of my point.
Mic drop.
Is the guy an Adonis? No. He's putting up 38 and 5. I don't really care what shape you're in if you're doing that consistently. It doesn't matter.
Even if you are drinking, I don't care.
Might make it more impressive, honestly.
Look at Marshawn Lynch.
Right. So, again, it's the gift that keeps on. I feel for Mavericks fans. I really do. I can't imagine how much this hurts being a fan of that team, just knowing there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I can't imagine how that feels. For the NBA, this is my favorite NBA storyline in a long time.
There's never been anything like this.
It's great. And it's I'm telling you, it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. Because as much as I don't like that he made the Lakers better, obviously, he's a Celtics fan. The Lakers are going to win a title in the next 3 or 4 years. And it's all going to come back again. And then the Mavericks, something's going to happen where they're going to win like 20, 25 games in a season because Davis is going to get hurt because that's what he does. And it's all going to come back again.
Clay's going to retire. Kyrie's going to become a flat earther again.
Right. It's just great. Stanley in Taunton has a thought on Nico Harrison. Stanley.
Yes. Can you guys hear me well?
Yep. What do you got?
Yep. All right. So you guys have not explored this not narrative, but this angle. Just remember, Mark Cuban sold the team because he thought Harris was going to win the election and be a part of the FTC commission. That's why he sold the majority of the shares. The person who bought the shares of this team wants to basically legalize gambling in the state of Texas. Because they're not having their way, they tried to find options to move. The NBA told the owner, yeah, that's not going to happen. Your team is still new. You got a new stadium that was built in 2000 or 2001. You are not going to move. You're going to have a hard time to legalize gambling because how conservative Texas is. So, again, this is where the plot point goes into them trying to move to Vegas. So what they did was to tank on purpose to devalue the team was to trade Luca, and Nico Harrison is the fall guy of all this nonsense. But nobody's having that conversation right now in the sports world.
Yeah, Stanley, look, I'd heard that narrative out there.
Wildly inaccurate is how I would assess that call.
Tim McMahon a few weeks ago. It's a decision, talking about trading Luca. It's a decision, team sources told ESPN, that will probably cost the franchise 9 figures over the next several years. You're going to lose more than you're going to gain by that move.
I don't have any comment about that call that won't get me fired, so pass.
It's just there's no. Trust me. I've heard the conspiracy theories. It's a fun rabbit hole to go down. No,
we can't also because it's way too political.
Right. Nico Harrison blew it. At the end of the day, Nico Harrison.
He's not a fall guy. For him to sit and I'm sorry, even if you were a fall guy, for you to sit here and say you didn't know how much Luca matters. Shut up. Shut up.
Your career's over. You're never going to get another job. If they ask you to be the fall guy for that, you quit. That's how bad a decision that was.
Or just have any other answer other than I didn't know how much Luca mattered because that's the dumbest possible thing you could ever say.
Did you see when he went back? And then we got to hit the break. I know we're up against it, and we'll get back to the Celtics. Did you see when Luca went back last week, the Mavericks, or a couple weeks ago, the Mavericks tried to set up branding deals with some of his groups?
No, I didn't see that.
So they tried to set up deals with some of his sponsors. The Mavericks did for the return, and they wanted to make it an event. And I guess Luca's team basically told those brands, don't. And it cost the Mavericks a ton of money. They were planning on making bank on his return. Luca didn't let him. And then he went out and shot that Gatorade commercial with the towel that said traitor.
Good for him.
If you saw that one.
And I hope he had a couple beers after.
I hope he did too. No, look, I know he's not the most popular person in Boston after the finals last year. I've always been a fan of his. I'm rooting for him. And again, this is just such a fun story. I hope it doesn't go away. All right.
I love him.
We will be back in or out. No Joe, we're going to do in or out next, plus your call, 617-779-0985 here on the Sports Hub.
What's it going to be, McFly? Are you in or out?
I'm the one you need for a dirty deed. I'm the best. Success is
Carolina might be the best series in the East.
Without a doubt.
So, yeah. You know, when we get to the conference finals, I might root for the Canes.
I get
I'll
the
reassess.
Marshawn thing, but, like, you will not... over my dead body will I root for the Florida Panthers.
Ultimately, I'm in it for the pick. Look, the Panthers winning is good for the Bruins. So until that stops being true, I'm going to root for them because it's rooting for the Bruins.
I can't believe you just said that. Anyways.
Give me Panthers Senators. Give me Kachuk.
Oh, there
in the
you
Eastern
go.
Conference
Do you think
Finals.
they'd fight?
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
I feel like they might, honestly.
I mean, come on. I'm sorry. I know you don't like them. How great would that be?
Well, that's what I'm saying is that I think that their dad would probably encourage them just because nobody would ever shut up about it to the point where their family would make so much money.
Brady's got to be the heavy favorite in that fight, though.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think I would take Matthew.
He'd pull something out, something dirty.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'd bite him.
I'm going Brady. Who's older?
Matthew.
Oh, then I'm going Matthew. I got to go with the older brother. I'm an older brother.
All right, sticking with kind of sports, the UFC is negotiating its next TV rights deal, and they're rumored to be headed to Netflix. Are we in or out on the UFC to Netflix?
So I'm not a big UFC guy, but Netflix streaming has just not been good the last couple of years. So the more practice they get so we can watch these NFL games on Christmas, I guess the better. So I guess I'm in.
Growing up in martial arts, you'd probably think that I'm more of a UFC fan than I am. To be honest, what I think is going to happen is that Netflix is going to have you pay some sports premium for all the crap they have.
Oh, that's a good point. No, out.
But it'd still be cheaper than paying to watch one UFC fight, probably.
Right, but if I'm going to have to pay more for these NFL
You
games and all
definitely
that,
are.
or
Without a doubt, that's what's going to happen.
You're right. Out. They don't need the practice. Figure it out. They're Netflix. They can do it. Out. Good call.
All right, now on to the fun stuff. KFC, everybody's friends over at KFC, have introduced a fried chicken flavored toothpaste that apparently features flavors inspired by all of KFC's 11 herbs and spices. Are we in or out on fried chicken flavored toothpaste?
Out. I know that aftertaste is nasty. I'm sure in the moment it tastes good. That aftertaste has to be something heinous. Out.
Here's the thing. I'm in because I would try it, and I love the hee ha ha of it all, but there's no way dentistry wise that does anything for you. And I'm sorry, but I cannot justify walking around with fried chicken mouth. So I'm in.
Hey, what does your breath smell like after that?
I mean, KFC does smell pretty good. Do you think boys would want to kiss me if I smelled like KFC?
No comment.
We also got that. I think Trent put it in Slack. I don't even know if this was real or photoshopped. The Pringles.
Oh, that's coming up next.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
I thought we were only doing one food one.
A flavored toothpaste, though, like I haven't had a flavored toothpaste since I was 10 years old, maybe like 8 years old.
And it's probably like bubble gum.
They have like a licorice flavored toothpaste now that actually I like that one. It's black licorice though.
You know what I like? You know what was fun? Remember the toothbrushes that would play a song?
Tooth Tunes.
So you knew how long to brush
Yes.
teeth? Yeah. I had Smash Mouth by All Star.
I had Hillary Duff.
Skaz?
I was just a plain toothpaste.
Oh, you missed out.
No, I don't.
You gotta
I don't
get
think
one,
so.
dude.
Did you have hit clips? Do you remember those?
No,
I
was like
the little. They were tiny.
Yeah. So I was one. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm gonna sound old. I was one of like the first kids in like my neighborhood that got like a Walkman. You might have to Google what that is if you're born in 2000 or later. And I would just burn CDs and listen to them on there.
I had a CD player, and then I had an iPod Shuffle when it came out. The one that was like a USB drive.
I never had the shovel. I got, was it a mini? Yeah, with like the black and white screen, and I had an iPod mini. That was my first iPod. I also remember the phone, the Juke.
Oh my god!
It was like also media player.
I
The media
loved
player
Juke.
didn't work, but it was a great phone.
But it was so fun to just
on, open and close all day.
I had a Zune at one point, if you remember those things.
No.
They were like
Oh.
Microsoft iPod, like, supposed to be the competition.
Somebody had a Zune. I remember it was my
Not good.
mom or one of my grandparents or something. Yeah, it didn't work.
what happened to BlackBerry? They really fell off the face of the earth.
Well, now you can do it all. You don't need the... It was like the business phone, but now you can do everything on the phone.
If I didn't work in social media, I would have a Motorola Razr.
I don't even know that I'd go that far. My buddy once had a Razr. He broke it because he wanted a black one, but he got it was silver or red or something. So he colored it in with a Sharpie, and there was so many fumes from all that Sharpie that it like fried the insides.
Oh my god. The kid probably has like cancer now.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
All right, on to the Pringles. Barth mentioned 3 new Pringles coming to stores this summer. Beer can chicken flavored Pringles, grilled beer brat flavored Pringles, and beer braised steak flavored Pringles.
So this is real.
Yes, the beer can chicken and grilled beer brat will be sold at stores nationwide. They carry the brand in May. The beer braised steak will be sold exclusively at Walmart in May. Are we in or out on basically chicken, beer brat, and steak flavored Pringles?
I'm in on all 3 flavors in theory, but you can't replicate that flavor. You can't. So I'm out because it's not going to. I like the idea, but I'm going to bet the execution didn't work. I'm out.
I'm so in. I love a chip. It is my guilty pleasure of any snack. I love a chip. I will eat any chip. The ketchup chips, so good. Pickle chips, so good. Meat chips, whatever these are going to be, in.
If they taste like it, then sure.
Even if they don't, but they're probably going to be good.
Again, I know that aftertaste is going to be brutal.
Do you guys remember? I want to say it had to be around 2020 because I feel like it was like a lockdown situation when Lay's put out all of those like flavors you could vote on, and they had like the chicken waffles, chips, and everything. I feel like it's going to be like that.
I'll try it.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll get brought in at some point.
My hopes are not high though. My hopes are not high.
All right, we will end with this one tonight. Ryan Coogler, the director of Sinners, making big waves over the weekend. Everyone's saying it's one of the best movies in recent years, but he has been tasked with an X-Files reboot. Are we in or out on the X-Files getting rebooted?
So I never watched the original, so I don't know. But, I'm kind of out on the reboots. Give us something new. It's all reboots. That being said, there is one I'm looking forward to. They're bringing back King of the Hill this summer. Criminally underrated show. Insanely underrated. All-time great show. That's like one of the few reboots. Like the Happy Gilmore one, no. That movie didn't need to be rebooted or remade or sequeled or whatever. King of the Hill is the only one I want.
I'm with Barth. I'm out on reboots, but I have to be honest, I don't know what X-Files is.
It's Scully and Mulder, right? Is that the name?
Something like that. It's like a sci-fi investigation.
Yeah, they're like
kind of show.
Trent doesn't know either.
He's too young.
Yeah, he's too young. They're like FBI agents or something, and they basically hunt aliens. It's kind of like Men in Black-ish.
I love aliens.
So you might like it. It's the only the only clip I've seen. There's an episode. I don't even know the whole plot. It's not just aliens. It's like paranormal stuff. Like Bryan Cranston's in it, and he's this guy that like can't stop yelling or something. I don't remember, but he gives this really intense performance. And at the time, he was the dad for Malcolm in the Middle. Everybody thought he was just this like comedy actor. And that appearance, that guest spot got him the role on Breaking Bad. Because they were like, oh, wow, he can be really intense. But it's just like these 2 FBI agents that do supernatural stuff. I think they're hooking up or something. But I don't know. I've never seen it.
Okay.
So
that is going to wrap up a Monday night edition of In or Out.
All right.
I feel like we should include... Trent, do you have any hot takes about any of those?
Trent, what do you got?
Trent just wants to know what the Eagles are doing at 32. That's what he's interested in.
Lineman. I don't know which side of the ball. Lineman. I'll tell you that. We can get back to some draft talk next. Celtics on the table, 2-617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth and Kendra Middleton. 90 seconds, just the headlines, and we're back.
From the Town Fair Tiger Studios, this is Boston's home for sports.
Holiday 3, good night.
Forces it up over
Somebody tied it.
WBZMM and HD Boston, 85, the Sports Hub, Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Your Marathon Monday winners today. For the men, it is John Career, and the women's winner, Sharon Lassetti, who set a new course record by 2 minutes today, as Barth alluded to earlier. Probably ideal weather to run a marathon today. The Red Sox are also winners in honor of Patriots Day. Finally, they get a dub on Patriots Day. They beat the White Sox to close out their series thanks to a huge performance from Walker Buehler. And other news around the NBA, Cooper Flagg has declared for the NBA draft. And a check of the scores around the league. We've got the Pistons beating the Knicks 64-53. We've got the Clippers and the Nuggets at 10. And over in the NHL, we have the Canadiens losing to the Capitals 2-0. Jets Blues still tied 1-1 at the end of the second. We've got the Avs and Stars at 9:30 and Oilers Kings at 10 p.m. Sports Up headlines were brought to you by Awaken 180. Give yourself a goal of losing 40 pounds by the 4th. It's doable, it's easy, and your summer self will thank you. Awaken180weightloss.com. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub, Boston's home for sports. I'm Kendra Middleton, and your next update in about 30 minutes.
To us,
Back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Alex, Barth, Kendra Middleton in for Joe. We got Skaz and Trent behind the glass. The person who fried his phone all those years ago texted me.
Oh, my God.
So his phone's working now. That's good to know. Let's go to your phones. Justin in Lynn has been hanging on patiently to talk about the Celtics. Justin, how you doing?
Yes, I just want to talk about the Celtics. I was a little bit concerned by the way they came out yesterday, especially in that first quarter. They came out a little bit slow yesterday, and I just wanted your thoughts. I thought in the second quarter as well they were slow in the first half, but they got better as the game went on.
Yeah, and they got better as the game rolled on, Justin, which is why I'm not worried. Look, there's this new weird extra week where because of the play-in, the top seeds don't play right away. The opponents maybe have a little more momentum. They've been playing. I kind of figured that would be the case. Remember when the Patriots used to have the first-round bye every year, and first quarter plus, that divisional game would be a little touch and go until they got their legs under them. I thought that's all it was. I thought they responded really well. If there's anything to be concerned with at this point, Kendra, as it's been for the Celtics for the last 2 years, it's health. Are they going to be healthy enough when the game's, when the intensity ramps up? Jason Tatum in that game yesterday hurt his wrist. It was kind of a freakish injury. Usually so he's going up for a layup or a dunk and he gets hit from behind and he falls. Usually when you hurt your wrist on that play, it's because you're bracing yourself hitting the ground. He hit his wrist off the backboard. I don't know how many times I've seen that before. Stayed down for a little bit, much to the chagrin of his coach. Got up, x-rays were negative, all of that. It's crazy, though. Like, I don't know if we're talking about it as much, the x-rays, and we would because it's the Celtics and it's the playoffs, but the x-rays were negative. He said he's fine, all of that. But really, two wild reactions off that injury. The clip of Joe Mazzulla pushing back the trainer, yelling at Tatum to get up. And then after the game, as Tatum's going into the x-ray room, he sees his mom, who asks if he wants her to go into the Mavericks locker room and say something. I didn't even think it was that dirty of a play. In the moment, there's definitely a little grab there, but it was it brought out a range of emotions, I think we could say, from everybody involved with the Celtics.
So as a Celtics fan, does it make you feel better or worse that Tatum's the type of guy to play pretty much no matter what? I would say usually I love that about him, but let's say they, go up 3-0 in the series and Mazzulla or the trainer or whoever is like, you know what, just take the night off, nurse it, whatever. This game, we might be okay, whatever. We've got an extra game if we need it. Are you upset if he doesn't sit because he's not the type to sit?
I'd be more annoyed by it in the regular season. Like how much Jaylen Brown was playing down the stretch, right, was bugging me. I think with this, it's the playoffs. I get it. It's more with Joe Mazzulla, and he has a tendency to push his starters a little more than he needs to. And I get it. He's competitive, but read the room, get guys rest when they need rest. The other thing is, depending on the nature of the injury, it might be something that's nagging. And a couple years ago in the playoffs, he suffered a wrist injury, and the great players play through injuries. It's what they do. And if they have to kind of change their approach, they change their approach. He suffered a wrist injury in the playoffs a couple years ago, and I don't think he really knew how to handle it. He was playing, but he was still trying to do the same things he was doing with a healthy wrist, and he clearly couldn't. I'd like to see him kind of figure out, all right, if my wrist is bothering me, and look, he came right back in. He hit a deep three with his first shot, so maybe it's nothing. But it's if he's playing, if he's able to adjust and do some things differently and compensate for the wrist, I'm good with it. If he's out there clearly hampered by it and still just trying to do the same things, then yes, I'd be annoyed and I'd be concerned.
What would your reaction be to your mother if something like that happened to you?
And she was like, do you want me to go talk to whoever?
Yeah.
I say not in front of cameras for sure. I know it was coming from a good place. I know she's listening right now.
Your mom?
I would know it was coming from a good place. So I would appreciate it. I'd be kind of surprised, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
I would also be surprised from my mother, but his mom's so well adjusted to this life and this scene.
Yeah.
She's got to know that there's always cameras on her and stuff. And I get you're probably upset in the moment because when it's your kid, you probably almost always feel like it's intentional. But she's been around this long enough to know that there are always cameras on her. So part of me feels like, I don't want to say it was calculated, but how do you not know?
I mean, part of her, it had at least kind of be a joke, right?
It didn't. Here's the thing. They were talking about
I know
this
it didn't
earlier
sound
today.
like it.
It didn't sound like it, and her back was to the camera. But that's the thing is that I would love to believe it was. It just did not sound like it.
Well, here's if if he had said yes, is she actually going in there?
That's the other thing.
That's what I want to know. Like, what would have happened? Because it wasn't just one player; it was two players. So does she pull them both aside? Does she yell at one then the other?
What if she brought Deuce with her?
Yeah, that's business right there. Was Deuce there last night?
I don't
think he was.
Was he? I
think I saw a video of him walking in.
Maybe. I feel like they've definitely kept Deuce a little bit more out of the camera the last year or so now that they have another child.
This is another part of the reason with the whole, face of the league and does he have the mentality? His family has it figured out how to be in the spotlight and balance that and all of that. They've just, some people would say it's boring. Good for him. Good for him.
I agree.
His family's handling it right, and there are worse things than being boring.
I will say his girlfriend, I can't really, woman to woman, I can't say anything wrong, but I do disagree with last year when she got upset that their baby was put on the Jumbotron as she's sitting in a suite. If you're taking your child to a game, you're dating the biggest star in the NBA.
Right.
You can't really expect them to not do that.
But if that's his biggest scandal, you're doing something right.
Oh my God,
clearly.
100% agree. It's just, your family is unfortunately probably going to be in the limelight, and if you don't want them to be, I'm sorry, but you have to leave the baby at home.
Yeah.
Or don't go to the game.
Yeah. And like you said, we haven't seen them as much this year. We haven't seen a lot of them this year.
Which I think is good. You should protect your kids.
Jason Tatum talk on the table. Celtics talk on the table. We can get back to the NFL draft as well. We also talked a little bit that bizarre Nico Harrison press conference in Dallas today. I know it's not local, but that to me is the kind of story that transcends. That thing's nuts. It's all on the table. 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth and Kendra Middleton on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.
taking you up until 11 o'clock. We've talked Celtics. We've talked Luca. We've talked NFL Draft, 617-779-0985. I can't get over that Luca thing. And again, I feel for Mavs fans. Like, what was your... So I always remember... Because you grow up, you're a fan of teams, and you just enjoy them, right? And you get a little more jaded over time, as this station is very much evidence of. But I think everybody has that one moment where, like, you realize, oh, not everything my team does is perfect. I'm not going to support everything my team does. From, like, a roster standpoint, or, like, not, it's run by bad people or whatever. So, like, I remember mine, probably a little later than most people, the way the negotiations with John Lester for the Red Sox just broke me. Like, I was actually interning for Felger and Maz at the time on the TV side, and it was just like, this is just so stupid. I couldn't help but be pissed at the Red Sox. Great player, one of my favorite players. They're lowballing him left and right. That was my, like, Joker moment where I was like, all right, I don't have to cheer every single thing every one of my teams does because they do some really stupid things. You're from Jacksonville, so this may be a loaded question, but like...
You know the answer.
No.
Jalen Ramsey.
Really?
Worst trade. What they got for him was just...
That was your first one where you were like, I'm not going to blindly like everything this team does? 'Cause that was kind of recent.
Yeah, honestly, because I knew that the thing is that you're not a... You are so blessed to grow up somewhere like New England,
right,
where excellence is and championships and all of that crap. Like, whenever the Jaguars mess up, like, yes, that's all we have. So it's all we have to believe in. Like, you just have to kind of sit there and take it. But the Jalen Ramsey trade, I was devastated because that team was just... It
was a very stupid trade. I'm not saying you're wrong to hate it.
The return that they got for it was Caleb Chason, the Travis Etienne pick, and then Jordan Smith in, like, the 4th round. That was, like, their return for it.
Yeah, it's not... And it not just that Ramsey was a good player, it sucked all the life out of that team and all the momentum they had going.
Yep. That was the first time that I was like, holy crap, I hate you guys.
So again, we're from Boston. Maybe we have a little different perspective than Kendra does, but 617-779-0985.
Yo, you want to come pull that dagger out of my back?
Well, no, but we've had a little more success here. And I'm sorry, he didn't fumble. Or he did fumble.
Miles Jack did not.
Yeah,
he was not down.
He fumbled.
Miles Jack was not down.
Miles Jack fumbled. I'm sorry, he did.
Dude, the NFL came out and apologized that they got that wrong. Don't be such a homer.
So they can apologize for getting something wrong they didn't get wrong, but they can't apologize for getting the combine measurements wrong, huh? Skaz, what's
more important, a combine measurement or letting the team not go to a Super Bowl?
I mean, you hear the way people talk on this station about a certain player who's probably going to get picked by the Patriots. It's the combine measurements. Skaz, what was your breaking moment that you were like, all right, I'm not blindly my teams can actually do things that upset me?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when I was younger. Recently, obviously, Lester's a good one. That was one that, I mean, the Mookie one is what came to mind, but obviously I was more
later,
aware, at the time. But that one's still...
There's Nomar for us, but I was too young at that point.
Yeah, and I was not a Nomar guy.
Really?
Yeah, I loved Pokey Reese, and I loved
Pokey Reese,
yeah,
too.
I loved Cabrera.
I got the Nomar, they had the Nomar metal bat, right, from Franklin. I got that the day he got traded. That sucked.
That's tough.
That hurt.
That's tough right there. I'm trying to think of a Celtics, maybe Antoine Walker, but I should have known better, or
Yeah, that I don't know why that one. And I loved Antoine Walker. I don't know why that one didn't bother me. Kind of. There's definitely player ones the Adam Vinatieri leaving bothered me, but I didn't blame the Patriots.
One, yeah.
But I didn't blame the Patriots. I blamed Vinatieri. Whether I should have blamed the Patriots or not, I didn't know. It's the Patriots. They can't be wrong. Vinatieri's wrong. Why would he want to leave?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of Patriots. I feel like they were pretty good. Seymour was maybe a little early, but even that, they still won afterwards. You got one?
Oh, I was gonna say I was pissed about Evan Ingram this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I can't help but see him, but. Yeah, that was bad. They had another one a couple years ago, too. I remember the Jaguars did. What am I thinking of?
Adrian Beltre was a guy that I wanted the Red Sox to keep, and I was like, he was awesome. He was here for 1 year. He was incredible, and then they just didn't want to pay him.
Oh, my God, that scared me so bad.
So for people who are just listening, there's really bright lights in here for TV. When Zolak and Bertrand and Felger and Mazeron, they usually shut off when the show's done. But I guess somebody forgot to shut them off.
9:30 tonight.
And they just cut off.
And it was loud.
It was. We might if we do we have video of that?
Yeah, definitely.
We might need to clip that. Oh, we didn't get Kendra's reaction. I just looked on YouTube.
Oh my gosh. I literally just jumped and my heart stopped.
Someone in chat brings up a good one.
Yeah.
The Kendrick Perkins trade. Although they thought they were making the right move.
That one hurt.
That was a bad trade.
But you know what? That might have been it for me, except I loved Nate Robinson. They got Nate Robinson back in that trade, right? That was that trade?
I'm trying to think because...
Or did they trade him with Kendrick Perkins?
That may... Because
I loved Nate Robinson. I was a short guy and he won the dunk contest. Of course I loved him.
2010, it was Nate Robinson and Shaq were on the team, I think. So I'm trying to...
Yeah, he was traded with... Yeah, it probably should have pissed me off. He was traded with Nate Robinson. I probably should have hated that more. And that was pre-Lester. Yeah. That one should have bothered me. Maybe I didn't care as much about the Celtics as the Red Sox. I like both those players. A draft pick, hating a team because of a draft pick. Somebody in the chat brings up when they drafted Marcus Smart because he knew it was the end of Rondo.
Yeah, that it was time. I love Rondo as much as anybody.
That one didn't bother me. Somebody brings up Manny. That's another one. It hurt. I loved Manny. It hurt, but it was time. We were done there.
Yeah, Pearson Garnett. I hated to see him go, but I was thrilled with the return.
Oh yeah, that one that was bittersweet. Paul Pierce, one of my favorite athletes of all time. One of the first jerseys I ever got, but it was if this is it because what I thought was going to happen is exactly what happened. It's okay, so in 5 years they'll be stacked. Fine, I get it. When you get a return like that, you can't be that mad. Somebody brought up Ortiz.
Well, that was a good trade they made.
Yeah. What was that trade? I thought they just signed him in free agency.
You're right. Yeah,
because
I think it was just
Pedro suggested that they sign him, and he was the only guy who was high on Ortiz. So Pedro still claims that the Red Sox only have Ortiz because of him.
Pedro leaving bummed me out. But that was one again where it was he's leaving, whatever. The Red Sox are the Red Sox. Lester was the first one where I was I'm mad at the team.
You know what actually really upset me as a child? Curtis Martin. That upset me. I was
even
real
remember
young,
that.
But
aren't you younger than me?
I'm 31.
You're
so
same age as me. I don't even remember that.
I just remember I had a Curtis Martin T-shirt or shirt, one of those, and my dad not allowed to wear that anymore, and I was upset about it.
I know there's somebody out there who's upset about Bledsoe.
Most of my disappointment comes in the draft. The number of Jaguars jerseys that I have for guys that didn't even sign a second contract, let alone just got released.
I know because we've talked about this. You have a jersey of one of my all-time favorite draft busts.
Oh, my God.
Matt Jones.
My God.
Matt, M-A-T-T.
Matt Jones jersey, he's literally the Josh Gordon of cocaine. I love him.
What?
That's why he didn't stay in the league. He couldn't get off the blow, and he couldn't stop drinking.
Well, also because he was a quarterback in college, full-time quarterback who they drafted as a wide receiver.
Yeah, but he genuinely, that's the conversation is that he could not get off the snow. That was his big issue.
All right, what transaction in the spirit
I have a Taven Bryan jersey, dude.
Tavon. I was thinking Tavon Austin for a second.
No, the Wyoming Wild Man.
I've thought about getting a West Virginia Tavon Austin jersey. I don't get pro athlete jerseys anymore because one, I cover some of the teams and that just feels weird, and also I'm just older and I don't know where I'd wear them. But I'll get college jerseys or movie jerseys. I have a Joe Cooper jersey from basketball. I have a who else do I have? What's his name? The Hawaii quarterback. Why am I blanking on this? Who set all the records?
I don't know.
I can't believe. Anyway, I have one of those. I've thought about the Tavon Austin jersey. That's on my short list. West Virginia. Colt Brennan is who I was thinking of.
Okay.
So, whatever. It's 9:30 at night. Ridiculous jerseys, upsetting sports transactions. It's all on the table. Let's try to talk some positive transactions. I want to get back to the draft. We'll do that next after these headlines from Kendra Middleton here on the Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Your Boston Marathon winners, John Career and the women's winner, Sharon Lachetti, who set a new course record today by 2 minutes. And the Red Sox also winners today. Patriots Day, finally a win from the Red Sox. They beat the White Sox to close out their series thanks to a huge performance from Walker Buehler. They will be back at Fenway Park to play the Mariners tomorrow. In other news around the NBA, Cooper Flagg has declared for the NBA draft. As far as some playoff scores, the Pistons
whole Bobby Valentine experience with the Red Sox. Chicken and beer, that's a good one.
I like the Joe Thornton answer, even if it worked out for the Bruins weirdly in the long run. I don't hate that answer. I like that one.
Some people on Twitter weighing in, that was one. Joe Thornton. That had to hurt at the time.
Yeah.
And look, some of them do work out. The Nomar one. Brought up the Nomar one. Obviously, that was a good move. At the time, that hurt. You want to call in with your 617-779-0985. Somebody brought up some of the Bruins coaching firings. Joe Thornton. Earl tweets in, the Joe Thornton trade caused me to email the team demanding an explanation and boycott the team for a year. Again, I think that one sort of worked out. The Bruins kind of needed that reset.
I know that this isn't a player, but when the Jaguars hired Urban Meyer, I boycotted spending a dime on that team for a year.
I mean, that's just common sense. I don't blame you for that one. That was so beyond stupid.
No, just because for so many reasons, like in my personal opinion, after everything that he had been guilty of, whether it was the Valentine's Day massacre workouts at Florida, everything that happened at Ohio State, like what message does that send to the women of Jacksonville, the players' wives, the players' girlfriends, the players' daughters, the women of Jacksonville? Just horrific. I wish that the Cons would sell the Jaguars, and I know we don't want to talk about the Jaguars on this station, but the day that team sells, I will be in Jacksonville spraying champagne all over our giant Jaguar statue, and that is it.
The man kicked his kicker pregame during warmups. Urban Meyer did.
He
Just
sucked
nonsense.
too, though. He was a bad person.
Somebody brought up Carlton Fisk. Somebody tweets in, the Cole Strange pick was when I first started questioning if Belichick had lost his magic. Matt McCarthy, Roger Clemens signing with Toronto. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Someone said Tom Brady.
So the Brady one's kind of different for me. I saw a couple people say Brady. And again, it's the first one. So if you're younger, that's fine. If you're older, it shouldn't be Brady. Like I saw somebody say the Juju signing. Not necessarily a bad one, but like if you're old enough to be tweeting, that probably shouldn't have been the first moment that you realized that your teams can make mistakes.
I don't know. You've got to consider that some of these kids that are on Twitter now are probably 18 years old. Brady was probably the first.
Well, so no, that's what like the Juju thing. With Brady, to me, Brady left. The team didn't. I mean, they sort of decided to move on from Brady. Obviously, that one was a little more complex than just my team screwed up. It wasn't one move. It kind of happened over time. There was a sequence of events. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm excusing it. That felt, there wasn't like a contract negotiation, right? We weren't going through a few weeks of, well, the Patriots are off. That a Canadian team has not won the Cup since the 90s.
Me too.
Did you know, Kendra, Skaz, an American team has, do you know what, first of all, poll the room. Raise your hand if you know what the Grey Cup is. Skaz, no. Skaz, you want to tell the class?
It's the CFL, right?
Yeah, the CFL championship. It's called the Grey Cup. An American team has won the Grey Cup more recently than a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. Because for like 2 years in the 90s, the CFL tried to expand to the States. It was pretty much, it didn't work, except I think it was Baltimore won the Grey Cup one year. That's an insane stat. Most people don't even know that the CFL had American teams. The Stanley Cup is a world-renowned trophy that's based out of Canada, and they can't win it. So I almost universally root against the Canadian teams because I think that's hilarious. Of all the Canadian teams, that one's at the bottom. You will never catch me rooting for the Montreal Canadiens.
Just to prove how much of a sicko Barth is, yes, 1995, Baltimore. The Baltimore Stallions.
That's right.
I wasn't even alive. Wait, would you root for the Canadians over the Leafs?
Oh,
I would root for the Leafs.
I think I would root for the Leafs.
I would probably also.
I think I would.
I have the Canadians like over like the Yankees for teams I dislike.
What?
Like I dislike the Montreal Canadiens that much.
What about the Cowboys?
I don't care about the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys
not
are not
relevant,
nearly relevant enough for me to hate them.
See, I just hate Jerry.
They're just hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something like I don't get me wrong. I hate the Yankees, but there's just something about the way Montreal, the way they carry themselves, like they invented hockey and the diving and
so pretentious.
I just hate them.
What you want another breakthrough moment? We were talking about breakthrough moments on like being worried about your team. You want another breakthrough moment when they called the cops on Zdeno Chara for that hit. I mean, what are we doing? Talk about it's beyond soft. Beyond soft.
The Mounties.
The Mounties, that's right.
The Mounties.
They called the Mounties on Zdeno Chara. Unhinged behavior.
And their poutine sucks, low-key.
That too. But like, say what you will about Yankees fans. They didn't call cops on Pedro, on Don Zimmer. Maybe they should have. That was wild.
They got the cops called on them for the two goons they had in the outfield. What was that, last year?
That's right.
That was so horrible.
But, yeah, for me, it's Montreal. It's the Bills.
You hate the Bills that much?
Yeah.
Why? They're not.
I lived up there. That's why. I had to be amongst them.
See, it's for me, it's honestly, the Texans have overpassed the Titans in the last year because of how all of their fans handled the Aziz Al-Shaair stuff. They were abhorrent. Sure. I don't know if you saw any of that, but
I did.
Their fans were disgusting about that. So I would say it's those two, the Yankees, and then the Cowboys for me.
Why can't I think of the fourth team in that division? Titans, Texans, Jags, and Colts? Colts fans are weird. They're not that bad. They're just weird.
Yeah, I don't care about them. They're like weirdly not Midwestern, but Midwestern nice.
Is there any you're hating on an expansion team.
Okay.
I know it's been like 20 years.
So the Jaguars are an expansion team.
That's true. I did this thing a couple years ago when the NFL expanded the schedule where I said for the 17th game, the NFL should do a protected rivalry like college football does, where every year AFC, NFC team put them together, and Jags Panthers was my rivalry because they were the expansion teams together.
Meow.
Some were better than others, admittedly.
Cats versus cats.
I was like, all right, I'm going to figure out as many as I can and I'll go through there. And I actually got 30 teams where I had like semi-reasonable explanations. And then I just had the Browns and the Cardinals in the Who's Left Bowl because there was nobody else. Let's take one call here before we hit the break. Mike in the car on the moment that broke him on a decision his team made. Mike.
I mean, this is going back, but I remember in summer break undergrad when the whole shenanigans surrounding Wes Welker not being re-signed to the Pats and how annoyed Brady was at that. I remember thinking, I wonder how many moves like this they can continue to do before it starts to affect their performance or cohesive nature of the team. And then also I remember my dad complains about with the whole shenanigans around Roger Clemens not being re-signed to the Red Sox. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Mike. McCarthy brought up the Clemens one. I honestly don't know the entire story there, but I know that there were some issues. Somebody brought up Johnny Damon leaving. Again, at the time, I put that more on the player than the team. Giants trading Odell. That was a weird one.
It was weird, but honestly, they were weirdly... Talk about weird. They were right for it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's the right move.
That catch had a career trajectory for him like I've never seen. What a lightning in a bottle situation.
I've said that.
He's the most overrated NFL player of all time.
His career has become... And by the way, it's a great catch, but like Justin Jefferson made that catch 2 years ago, but did so with two guys hanging off of him.
His career is that catch.
Yeah, that's a fair take. All right. We've got that's one consideration from Kendra. We've got more of Kendra's considerations coming up next. Plus, we'll get back to your calls here on the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
You want a random take? Murray's got all sorts on stuff in the world unrelated to sports. So sit back, relax, and get your mind in the game and listen to the words of a grown man complaining.
Back here on the Joe Show. No Joe tonight. Alex Barth, Kendra Middleton, as Joe makes his way back from WrestleMania. And it's now time for Middleton's musing, Kendra's considerations, whatever we want to call it. What do you got for us, Skaz? Or Kendra?
I was going to say, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can complain if you want me to.
I was going to say, I think I'm going to complain about modern day dating. That is going to be my musing. I just am convinced that with the apps and everything like that now, it's always just, I feel like guys think that there is always someone better out there because it's just when you're scrolling, it's like the next best thing, whatever you can find. And I hate the Snapchat generation. Guys that just constantly are Snapchatting women from like their past or anything like that. I can't do it. I can't. I'm over it.
I think there's a certain age where you should just be off Snapchat.
What do you think that age is?
Look, I haven't had Snapchat, so when I graduated college, a lot of my friends were still there. And I got a job right away, and it was a job I didn't love, and it was a ton of demanding hours, and it got to the point where, like, I hated having Snapchat because I would just see all my friends having fun back in college while I was at this job I didn't like. Mm-hmm. And so I deleted it. I also deleted Facebook. Mm-hmm. And it was great. Like, I don't notice it as much anymore because this would have been 2016. So it's been almost 10 years. And maybe that's earlier than some people, but, like, I remember being at a concert. This sounds like so old man yells at cloud, but like I was at a concert. Everybody has their phones up, recording. You know what I was doing? I was enjoying the concert. And
you're not going to go back and watch those concert videos.
Right. They all recorded it for me. Thanks to them. It's on YouTube. So I don't know. Snapchat never did it for me. Most social media doesn't do it for me.
So what's the age?
Like late 20s, early 30s. Look, I guess if it's tough because you got to do it collectively, right? Nobody wants to be the first friend that leaves. And because then everybody's talking on there and you're not on there. I'll find out every once in a while. Somebody will be like, it's not as much anymore, but like for years after I was finding out, hey man, like, why don't you ever answer my Snapchats? Oh, I haven't had it. And I tell them, like, I don't have it for years. So one of these days we've decided I'm going to re-download it and it's just going to be, hopefully they're all there and it'll just be years and years of documentation. But late 20s, early 30s. It's a very like...
Late 20s? Skaz, what age do you think you should be done with Snapchat?
I was going to say like 25, but that's like, I understand Barth's thing. Like, and Trent was just saying, because he's of the younger generation. Like, there are people where he's friends with them and he has their Snapchat, not their phone numbers.
That's wild to me. Doesn't Snapchat give you the number?
So if you put a contact in your phone, it'll be like your contact is on Snapchat.
Okay, but it doesn't work the other way.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't Snapchatted in a long time, year plus or whatever. But yeah, you're not doing anything good on Snapchat. Like, there's no.
There's nothing good going on Snapchat.
That's such a you're 21 and you don't have a care about anything or consequences at all mode of communication. And there's a time. Yeah, he's nodding. He knows. Mm-hmm. Trent's nodding. He knows. And there's absolutely a time for that. It's just not at a certain age, especially with the relationship stuff. Like,
and yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like,
do you remember when Snapchat used to have the best friends?
I wish that it still did, dude. Nobody should be safe. I wish that Snapchat still had
I know
that.
people who got caught. What? Who's this? Who's your best friend?
Mm-hmm.
Who is he? Who's she? Like, oh, that was nightmare fuel.
Just because I'm feeling feisty. And I'm just going to come out and say it because I'm feeling like it. It's late night radio. There's no way anybody of value is listening to this.
617-779-0985.
I'm going to take a poll. If you're dating someone and you catch them making Netflix and chill plans with their ex and telling them happy Valentine's Day, is that cheating? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Cheating?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. That's, come on now.
Thank
what are
you.
we doing
I
here?
was told that it wasn't because nothing went in any holes.
It's a low bar.
Correct.
I mean, aside from the physical stuff, like Happy Valentine's Day to an ex is bizarre.
Netflix and chill plans with an ex while your girl's out of town and never telling her you have a girlfriend? Cheating.
It's one thing, like I saw somebody on Twitter post the other day of somebody who was like texting their ex and it was like, Merry Christmas, Happy 4th of July, Happy Easter, and it was like every holiday with no response. And it was like, keep shooting, whatever. That's one thing. Like you're shooting your shot with the happy holiday, sure. Valentine's Day is not a holiday you can do that with. That's for New Year's, if anything.
Yeah.
Worst holiday, by the way. The worst.
New Year's?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't need New Year's.
Oh, what are you mad about, Barth? I just really dropped the bomb.
Nothing as much as you. I just don't like New Year's. It's dumb and objective.
No, I
Every
meant,
day's a New Year.
What's your musing?
Oh, what's my musing?
Is it people complaining about Will Campbell?
Yeah, but I feel like I should go kind of off of that. I was on the 10 to 2 on Tuesday. They figured out how boring I am beyond the draft stuff. So I got to come up with a good one. My musing is, you know what? I'm ready for summer. Like to give us 180-degree day and then take it away.
Barth, I just literally dropped a bomb. You can't be boring.
I don't, there's nothing interesting going on. I complain about the things everybody complains about. The weather sucks. The traffic's bad.
Everything's expensive.
Yeah, that's annoying. I don't know. I guess I should be happy. I don't have that much to complain about.
I love that for you.
Yeah. All right. Skaz, what do you got? Save me here.
Oh, musings for me. Yeah, you guys, I'm in my young 30s here.
Yeah.
Started going to the doctors again recently. I don't know if you guys do that at all.
That's a weird experience, yeah.
Like I didn't go to the doctors from honestly 18 until I don't know, a year ago.
Yeah.
But I've been dealing with some health stuff, but they do the portal now. Are you guys familiar with the portal?
I'll complain about the portal.
Yes. So
I'll absolutely complain about the portal.
Me and Barth here.
This is what you have to look forward to in your 30s, Kendra.
They put everything in the portal, and so I've been
not the portal.
I've been run through the ringer over the last couple months. Endoscopy, colonoscopy, cardiology appointments. You name it. I've been going to it over the last few months. But the problem with the portal is they just put stuff in there, like the results or the findings, and I'm a pretty anxious guy. I'm kind of a hypochondriac when it comes to this stuff. So I get these notes in the portal, and it's like, and mind you, I'll say everything is perfectly fine. I have had everything is, a couple minor things, but everything is on the up and up. But the stuff they put in the portal, then you start Googling. You're trying to figure out what the hell does this mean. I'm sending myself into a frenzy. So
don't do that.
My request for the medical professionals out there, the portal in general, can we have someone go over what's in the portal with you, or maybe call ahead of time or something like that, instead of just blindly sending out the results and just kind of praying that people understand what they're getting.
I went to the doctor a couple weeks ago, and I hadn't been dermatologist. I'm just out in the sun a lot. Wanted to make sure. I hadn't been in years. Yeah, I had something in high school, but they're like, all right, fill out this form. Okay, I fill it out. I have dual handwriting. Okay, now we need you to scan this QR code, go to this website, and fill this out. It was the same thing. Why did I have to fill both of them out? It was so tedious and stupid.
Can we talk about how 23andMe went bankrupt and then sold everyone's information to an insurance company?
I never did that.
Well, I was gonna say. I don't want to victim blame, I think, as they would say. But if you're sending your DNA via UPS or the Postal Service, then I don't know. It's kind of on you at that point, I feel like.
But you don't want to know about your heritage or anything.
I heard that. And this is all speculation, allegedly, but I heard people were sending in their dogs, DNA and stuff, and getting it that it was all completely
BS
manufactured, basically, that it was not very accurate.
I know,
allegedly.
My family's pretty good with that stuff. I know going back a little bit.
See, my dad's adopted, and we don't really talk, so I don't know a ton. So I thank God never did it, but I wanted to, and then so 23andMe does a sale every Christmas. So this year that was going to be my gift to myself because I've always wanted to know, but I knew that there's definitely another kid that we don't know out there about my dad, and I'm scared to have that come back.
Yeah, the risk reward there is significant.
My dad definitely has kids that I don't know about out there for sure. That man is promiscuous.
Still feel bad I had nothing to really complain about. I feel like I probably do if I thought about it.
I feel like you definitely have things that you complain about, but I don't know. How was your salad?
They're just boring. It was good.
Okay. Barth, just happy-go-lucky. He's literally a golden retriever.
I guess so. No, I'm with Skaz. The doctor stuff, you got to jump through all these hoops, and then they send me this email with the bill, but it went to my spam, and then they're like, well, you didn't pay us. But I looked at the email. It looked like it was designed by somebody trying to pull off a scam. It didn't look like a modern email at all. It was like all these weird colors, and the text was weird. The email signature was odd. Apparently, it was legitimate, but if I had seen it, I would have thought, oh, this is clearly a scam. So that's another one. The new mail app on the iPhone is a mess.
Oh, yes. That's
it's so bad.
Wait, I like it.
Louth does too, but because I've talked to people here who like it. There's emails that I haven't gotten because I do the sort by unread. And there's emails that I haven't read that just don't come up in that, and stuff gets buried in there.
See, that's the thing is that once you see something that you know you want to prioritize, you have to put it that you want to prioritize.
I don't want to prioritize anything in there. 90% of it is junk. It's people trying to sell me stuff. If it's really important, they'll text me. But not Snapchat.
No, yeah, we're out on Snapchat.
Out on Snapchat. I convinced my younger cousin once, because I forget what I was talking about, but it was like, the slang that I used when I was his age, I was like, you should start calling Snapchat the ghost. So now there's a bunch of middle schoolers in some town in like New York that call Snapchat the ghost.
I'm so scared of the youth. It's unreal.
It's a good name for it. It's objectively a good name for it.
I'm so scared of the youth.
617-779-0985. Kendra's going to get you caught up. Then we'll get back to your calls next here on the Sports Hub.
Studios. The 18-time world champion Boston Celtics are looking for number 19.
Tatum pull it.
Hear every playoff game right here. Your home for Boston Celtics basketball. WBZ FM and HD1 Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Your Marathon Monday winners are John Career, and the women's winner was Sharon Licchetti, who set a new course record today by 2 minutes. Barth alluding earlier that it was very, very, very perfect weather to run a marathon today if you are crazy enough to do so. The Red Sox also winners in honor of Patriots Day. Finally, they win a game on Patriots Day. They beat the White Sox to close out their series thanks to a huge performance from Walker Buehler, and they will be back at Fenway Park tomorrow to play the Mariners. In other news, Cooper Flagg has declared for the NBA draft. As far as playoff scores, the Pistons, they let the Knicks come back. It's now 94-92 with a minute 50 left in the fourth. So if you're looking for some action, that might be the game for you. Clippers and Nuggets supposed to tip off any minute here. Over in the NHL, Canadiens and Capitals now tied 2-2 at the end of the third. That will be going into overtime. Blues Jets 2-1 with a minute 10 left in the third. And the Avs Stars game has started. 12:50 left in the first, 0-0. And then the Oilers and the Kings has been updated to 10:22 p.m. We will keep you updated on all the playoff scores throughout the night. Sports Hub headlines were brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub, Boston's home for sports. I'm Kendra Middleton, and your next update is around 10:30.
Get
There's the potential there for big stuff.
98.5 The Sports Hub app. Get the app.
On the night show, no Joe tonight. It's Alex Barth, it's Kendra Middleton, Skaz behind the glass. We spent a good amount of the night on the NBA and the Luca stuff. I'm just fascinated by this. I know it's not Celtics and Lakers and blah, 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 whatever. It's such a good story. It's the exact kind of story the NBA needed. That's on the table. The Celtics series is on the table. We will get back to... we were going to get back to the draft, and the call dropped off. It was about Shedeur Sanders. We do have another call that's for you, Kendra, though, for Mason in Middleton. Mason.
Oh.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey. Hello, Mason.
So I'm in that 23, like pretty much ready to be done with Snapchat thing.
Okay.
But I have kind of 2 points today. I have a lot of group chats that like every one of my friends still uses, and I'd miss a ton of plans, and I can't lose it yet. And I don't know if you guys are like the Day Show and like to just make fun of Mainers as much as you can, but my cousins from Maine will not answer my texts. Like I could text them, I get the green text because they're Android, and they will not answer. But if I Snapchat them, they'll answer me within like an hour.
How old are your cousins?
24 and 21.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That sounds about
something
right.
about the young 20s and under. Just Snapchat is their main form of communication now.
I don't know what you do about the cousins. And isn't the whole thing about internet in Maine? You need internet for Snapchat. But like what you got to do, you've all got to get together and figure out a date. Everybody in your group chat that like, all right, this is the date. We're cutting it off.
We're too old for this.
Right. There's no more Snapchat. Have one last blowout. Text all day on Snapchat. Send all the pictures. And then boom. Everybody get together, delete it at the same time. That's what you got to do. Somebody's just got to take the lead and make an executive decision,
For
Mason.
your future partner's mental health.
I believe you can do it.
All right. I appreciate the advice, guys. Have a nice night.
Mason sounds so mature for a 23-year-old.
Yeah, he's ready to get off. See, and he's ready to get off Snapchat.
Just his voice. He sounds like he's older than both of us.
I thought he was going to say he was like 30.
Me too.
I was like, what's this older guy calling and talk about Snapchat for? Is he going to ask what it is?
Snapface.
Snapface, InstaChat, all that. Do you remember, you might be too young for this. Do you remember Yik Yak?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
I loved Yik Yak.
Yik Yak was great.
Yik Yak was so good.
They brought it back a couple years ago, but it wasn't the same.
It was not the same.
So if you don't know what Yik Yak was, guess. Do you remember Yik Yak?
For Yik Yak?
College?
Very, like, vaguely.
Oh, man. Yik Yak was, it was like Twitter.
It was like a bulletin board almost, right?
So
but locally.
Right. So you had to choose. So initially it was only locally, and then you could like not be in a place, but you could set your location, and you would just post. It was like a tweet. You would post it, and it would go. You didn't follow anybody because it was all anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
So you would just see the timeline from your location, and it would be anything from like, "Hey guys, it's really nice out," to like the most unhinged, ridiculous stuff.
I was homeschooled in high school, but they had to ban it from the high school like location my senior year, and then we had it for my freshman year of college. And the stuff that happened on that app in college was abhorrent.
I remember being on a road trip covering football, and it was just like us, the radio crew, and the football team just blew up the Yik Yak for Frostburg, Maryland. And like didn't realize until like a week later we were all just talking with each other. Nobody else was on there.
People were posting like nudes and stuff on Yik Yak back then. It was crazy.
That was peak internet. There was another one too. So it got banned like pretty wide. What was it? Somebody tried to bring it back. It was like the same app, but it was called something else. The logo was an octopus. It was purple. I don't remember what it was called.
I don't remember that.
There was like it didn't last that long. It was like a couple months. They tried to bring it back, but at that point it was like too far gone because now people were trying to be too aggressive the other way. That was like peak internet.
Yik Yak
for
was
me.
hilarious. You always found out about all the drama on Yik Yak.
Oh, yeah.
Or whenever something horrible was going on campus that they didn't have all the details about, so they didn't want to email everybody and freak them out about yet, you would learn about it on Yik Yak.
Yeah,
The clowns. I found out about the clowns on campus on Yik Yak.
It would just be like, my friend, it was kind of set up like a Reddit post, but it was like, my friend doesn't know her boyfriend's cheating on her, but I know because this, and this. And you're reading, you're like, oh, I know who these people are. And it was, that was fun.
See, I was at Auburn, so usually it was about athletes.
That must have been insane.
It was usually about athletes and like all the crazy crap they were doing.
I'm sure.
Do you remember, okay, you'll know who this was.
Yeah.
Not to like talk crap, but like it's a pretty open story. Do you remember Shaun White from Auburn, the quarterback?
Yeah.
When his whole arrest...
I almost said the snowboarder.
When his whole like scandal with getting arrested and kicked off the team came out first, everyone was talking about how he got caught because he got so like intoxicated that he went outside the police station on campus and was like howling like a dog and like all this stuff, and people were like posting about him doing that on Yik Yak.
You want to fix it? Here's what you do. Get rid of Snapchat and get on Yik Yak.
Yeah.
You'll all find each other in there. You can make a group chat in there somehow.
Yep. Bring Yik Yak back.
That was... Skaz, I can't believe you don't remember that.
I don't think it, like, I remember it, but not, it wasn't big at least, you know, in my friend group or whatever. But I do remember its existence.
But that's the whole thing. It didn't have to be in your friend group because it was all anonymous.
I just think it, I was tuned out. I wasn't interested in my college
Skaz
drama.
didn't care about the drama.
Yeah, not a drama guy, really.
That's fair. But it was also like people would go on and share these juicy stories that were 100% made up.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no... You think Twitter has no accountability? Yik Yak. Oh, my God.
Especially on a college campus, man.
I don't think I ever used it off of a college campus.
OV. Caps win.
Game winner. That's awesome.
Wow, that's his second of the night.
I should take back my Florida thing. I might want the Caps to win. Just Ovechkin. Oh, I don't want him to retire yet. Like, I want him to chase 1,000.
I just don't like that he's Russian.
I guess.
He's got Putin's black card. Am I allowed to say that?
He's not retiring.
No.
He's gonna...
I think he gets 1,000.
He's gonna push the Yager of it all. That guy's still playing.
100%.
Still owns that team out there.
Ovechkin's wife is only a year older than me.
Really?
Yeah.
How old is he? Is he 40?
Way older, I think. He's got to be like, what, 40? I want to say he's like 41.
I always thought
like way older.
He looks older than he is.
He
I know
does.
that. Every time I see him, I'm like, wow,
He's 39. I was wrong. I thought he was 41. He's not even 40 yet. He looks like he's 8,000 years old.
He does. There's some. He's looked like that forever.
Yeah. Me saying 41 is way older than 40.
Meanwhile, the Knicks are going to lose. I love this series. I got a soft spot for the Pistons. Those teams in the early 2000s were fun. And it would be. Did you see the party the Knicks fans were throwing after winning Game 1 of a first round series?
Because that's like winning a championship for them.
I know, but it makes it so much better when they lose. So much better. Especially the Pistons, who aren't even supposed to be here this year.
I'm happy for them.
The Pistons?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love Detroit.
That's a good franchise. That's a good fan base. We were talking about the Panthers fans just kind of showing up out of nowhere. No, those Pistons fans. Do they still have the PA announcer that does the what's that guy's name? You know what I'm talking about, Skaz?
Yeah, I think he's still there. I haven't heard him in a while.
From
but
the
I think he's
Get
still there.
Down Playgrounds of Philadelphia. Yeah, those are right up there with the Bulls intros. Those are good. And then obviously Celtics AO Technology is fantastic as well. Put that all on the table. Plus, let's see, are the Knicks going to lose? Yeah, they're down 6 with a second. No way. Brunson got fouled. Oh, that's the game.
There we go.
I said to somebody, Knicks win Game 1, lose the rest of the series. That would be awesome.
Cade Cunningham's the only kid from that went to Alabama I'll ever root for.
Why? Just because?
Because War Eagle.
No, I know why you won't. Like, why is he
I just
the
like
exception?
him.
Okay.
And I think that I've said this before and I'll say it again, that graphic that they put out of him when he got drafted was so bad that I will pity him forever. That graphic was so bad.
617-779-0985. You want to talk playoffs? You want to talk NFL draft? Let's get back to the draft next here. It's Alex Barth and Kendra Middleton on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe. You're listening to
Next 40 minutes, you want to call and talk draft with us, 617-779-0985. This was from Todd McShay today. Something's going about the Giants and Shedeur Sanders. Something's going on. I'm not sure in the last 24 hours, but as of 48 hours ago, there's still a little push from the personnel department. That's Joe Shane, the general manager, his director of scouting, the college scouts. I can't say individually who it is. You just said Joe Shane. But apparently somebody on that side or multiple people on that side are saying, let's really consider Shedeur at 3. There's a bit more of a push than expected from the personnel people. Is this actually going to happen? After all of this, it's been written off. Could it actually happen that the Patriots get 2 quarterbacks that go ahead of them in the draft? I'll believe it when I see it. And I've seen teams get done with the quarterback position before. I know they can do it. I think there's too much smoke the other way. I think this is too unique of a draft. If any team's going to do it, it's the Browns, because they're coming from a place of extreme desperation. Shane, Dayball probably need to make the playoffs this year to save their jobs. But if they don't believe Shedeur is that quarterback, or if they believe somebody else in this draft is better, whether that be Jackson Dart, whether that be Jalen Milroe, whether that be Will Howard, I don't know. Maybe they don't reach, or maybe they're making this push because they're going to trade back up for him. Kendra, I'm not gonna get my hopes up on this one. I'm not.
If you're anything like me, you put your tinfoil hat on pretty often, and you also like to listen to what the sportsbook has to say, because the Vegas doesn't lose. Like, the house always wins with Vegas.
So Vegas has not been good on quarterbacks in recent years.
And that's what I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
Is that their odds for number 3 right now are Abdul Carter minus 600.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders plus 475. So even if you think that there is a slight chance that this could happen, I don't know if these odds get any better.
No. I don't know if you have it there, if you can pull it up. What is Shedeur's over-under spot?
Let me see.
I go back to last year. I think it was a day or two before the draft. It was right about now. J.J. McCarthy was the favorite to go to the Patriots. I go back 2 years ago at this time. And Will Levis, remember that Will Levis was going too? Remember it was a lock because of that stupid Reddit post?
Yeah.
It was like negative odds. There were people talking about Will Levis going number 1 Vegas-wise over C.J. Stroud. The Vegas odds have not figured out the quarterbacks in recent years. There's been a big miss from the Vegas odds when it comes to quarterbacks in each of the last 2 years.
So I don't see any over-unders for him right now, probably just because of the conversations that have come up today.
Makes sense.
But as far as a second QB selected, he's minus 250.
I mean, wherever he goes, I do think he'll be the second quarterback.
Yeah, I feel like it's Jackson's sitting at number 3, and then Jalen, and then Cam Ward.
How far is the gap between Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe?
So currently to go second, as far as so the thing that I'm looking at right now is it's not the teams, it's number 4, number 5. So this could kind of include like a trade situation. And the first time you get any real look at another quarterback going, I'm still scrolling and I don't see it.
Okay. So the books think it's Shedeur second. It's just a matter of where. So you're saying because the odds are long for Shedeur and they've been wrong about quarterbacks, you think that you're putting 2 and 2 together that, oh no, he actually will go high.
So for Shedeur to go in the top 5 is plus 370 on one book. For him to go top 10 right now, I don't even minus 170. So as far as that's it. I think that.
I mean, if he doesn't go top 3, but he goes top 10, that's probably a trade up. I would think.
Yeah.
So, the Steelers need a quarterback. The Steelers, if I'm them, Aaron Rodgers doing all this wishy-washy nonsense. I might want to play football. I might want to retire. You got to move on. You can't keep waiting because you're going to get to June and he's going to say he's retiring and you're going to have nobody.
Can I ask you your thoughts on Mike Tomlin?
I have actually gained a lot of respect for him the last few years. Just kind of some of those former players and what's become of them after they left his program. I think that shows that he can lead a team, lead a locker room, all of that. I think he walked into a good situation. I think he's been given a good roster for years. There was a window there where I was wondering if his job would be on the hot seat, but I think the NFL has a real shortage of good coaching. I think it does. I think there's a lot of people that we consider great coaches who are maybe nothing more than good. I think there's people we consider good coaches who are not. Just because there needs to be a certain number of good coaches in the league, I think is the expectation, and there aren't. For where the league is at right now, Mike Tomlin's a very good coach.
Yeah, I do agree with you that he's a very good coach,
Yeah.
but if he were in a major market, he would have been fired a long time ago.
He is the perfect coach for that team. In that
If he
market.
were in a New York,
Yeah.
a Boston, a Miami, a Dallas, San Francisco, probably any of the big markets.
I'd argue Kyle Shanahan should have been on the hot seat the last couple of years. I know I'm in the minority there, but
Yeah.
how many Super Bowls?
I think
are you
this year was
blow,
the
guy?
first year that you could argue that, but they
Yeah.
had so many injuries that it's hard to be.
Well, it's
that
almost
critical.
like, his whole thing is the system is supposed, it's the system this, the system that. I can plug in whoever. I went to the NFC Championship game with Brock Purdy. No, you had like a loaded roster at the skill positions, buddy. And you didn't turn Brock Purdy into anything. Kittle turned Brock Purdy into something. Ayuk turned Brock Purdy into something. Christian McCaffrey turned Brock Purdy into something.
I'll tell you what, if Carter falls to 4, I bet the 49ers are calling the Patriots for that pick.
I think there'd be a handful of teams calling.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't hate if the Patriots try to get a deal done. I know there's some people that hate the idea of that. One of the few blue chip players in the draft falls, you get them. If I can get future picks and be in position to move back up next year in a better draft, especially the Niners at 11, you might be able to get a future first out of them. I would. I'm not saying I'd automatically do it.
I'd
I'd be listening long and hard.
I probably wouldn't consider their trade at the highest, just because you've got to think that they are not going to have as bad of a year as they did this year, and they're going to be really far back in the draft next year.
Probably, but let's say you're picking in the 10 to 15, which I think is a fair assumption for this Patriots team, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how the division goes.
Sure.
Because I do expect some regression from Miami for sure.
Yeah.
So, and the Jets are going to be bad.
I mean, if you finish right around 500, you're probably picking in that 10 to 15 range.
I think that they're over 500 this year.
So, okay, so call it in there. Let's call it pick 15. Let's say, best case scenario for the season.
I almost just swore.
Because that was that bad of a take?
No. I was just going to say, if they don't F up this draft that bad.
I caught myself during the yik yak discussion. But let's say the Patriots end up with like the 15th pick, right? Niners are picking somewhere in 20s, 25, 26, 27. That gets you back in the top 10. You pair those two together, that gets you back in the top 10, certainly. So
yeah, but next year's draft is a draft where I don't think that you want to give up 2 first round.
Or you make 2 first round picks.
I think you have to.
I now, would that be the best offer you get if that's from the Niners? I don't know. I don't think you're getting that offer from the Eagles that's out there that's reported, but can you get a future first from somebody else?
I mean, the Eagles don't have that many picks, if I'm not mistaken, Trent. But like the 49ers do. They have
That's true.
so
They have a
many
bunch of
they
picks.
have so many late in the draft.
I think, and some of the reporting today, the other team I look at was the Bears might want to trade up for Genti. They have an extra second still from the Bryce Young trade. They have 39 and 41. Move back to 10. Get one of those picks. Get a future second, maybe a future first. Like, you're in good shape. I'd take the Bears future first. The Bears could go either way. I'm not sold on Ben Johnson.
Can you give me a sneaky first rounder who you think will have a better career in comparison to how much hype they're getting?
Then Ash and Genti.
Yeah.
So much of it's fit with this draft. Like, are you going to the right situation? I think if Matthew Golden goes to the right situation, he could be a real, threat. Like, he has true game-changing wide receiver upside.
You want to know who I think is not getting enough hype?
Who?
Egbuka.
He's a really good player for what he is. He's not, explosive, though. He's not a big play threat. He's a chain mover.
I know, but
And he could be really good at that. But
I think that he's going to be one of these people that we look back at like, dang, why didn't he? What is going on with that TV? Like, he did not get enough hype
that's a crypto
in
go
this
figure.
draft.
No, you're right. He should be a first-round pick. He's probably getting pushed down to a sneaky spot I love for him, honestly.
Jacksonville Day 2, because that's what everyone's been saying.
Wouldn't be bad. How about Philly?
I
know
would
they need
literally
a lineman.
cry.
I know they want a lineman, but you go A.J. Brown at the X, Devontae Smith at the Z, Jackson Smith.
They'd repeat.
Egbuka in the slot. That's such a well-rounded receiver group. And then on top of that, Jalen Hurts, like some of the issues with their passing game being relative, they won the Super Bowl. Some of the issues with their passing game is not having like a reliable chain mover and a down-to-down threat. It's just big play guys all over the field. You got Jalen Hurts, somebody he can just hit at the sticks every time on like little comebacks and in routes. It's going to make him a lot more efficient. It's going to open up more for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith over the top. It's kind of it's a luxury pick, but when you just won the Super Bowl, you get to make those. So that's my sneaky spot for Ibuka. Philly at 32. You want to really help out your quarterback.
They would repeat.
Not only would they repeat, I think you would see Jalen Hurts unlock another level that some people maybe don't think he has.
Wow. Trent, would you be happy with that?
Just a shrug? Come on, man.
He says sure. Yeah, he's in on that.
He's hard to please.
The Eagles fans spoiled
He says
already?
Jalen Hurts is already a top 5 quarterback. So.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I
don't even know with Ibuka about that, but it would help. Were we this bad? Were Patriots fans that bad?
Worse.
Yes, so much worse.
All right, but you know what? We won 6, so we had a little more cushion, okay? Kendra's going to get you caught up with the headlines. We'll get back to the draft talk next here on the Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Marathon Monday, your men's winner, John Career, and the women's winner with a new course record by 2 minutes is Sherry.
Kendra Middleton. Got 20 more minutes. You want to join us? 617-779-0985. We had more people tweeting in at me about the transaction that their team made. That was like the first one that broke them. First
Good
time they
tweet,
went
Barth.
against their team. Thank you. A lot of Mookie Betts. So maybe my Twitter followers are younger than I thought. Also, that's 5 years ago now, which is insane.
Well, that's how long 2020 was. We were all locked in our homes.
I know.
Literally locked in our homes 5 years ago.
We've been out of the pandemic longer than we were in the pandemic.
I was a 2020 grad. I graduated into...
So you got out just in time. Well, I guess you missed your
No.
graduation, but...
I didn't. And I was homeschooled in high school, so I was like, well, I guess.
I like objectively, when I looked at it, I mean, it sucked because I was right out of college. I just gotten this job. I had just moved out with my parents. A couple of my friends had moved to Boston who weren't like from here, and it was great. It was this great setup, and I was like, this is awesome. My life's finally where I want it to be. That was a super fun 6 weeks, and then it was all over. But like, I was 23, 24, so I got all the college stuff, but I didn't necessarily miss any of like the big life events, like friends getting married, having kids, blah, 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 because like we were still too young for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of threaded the needle. I guess I should be, like, all I missed was just goofing around.
I mean, you could say that you're 29 in COVID years.
I do make that joke with my friends that mentally it's February 2019. I just got back from covering the Super Bowl. I'm still living in my old apartment. What is a COVID? Like, part of me internally does believe that.
See, I am not. Thank God I'm kind of a conspiracy theorist because we were all living on campus and I got word that this all was happening. And I told my friends, I was like, you know what? It sounds crazy, but I'm going to order masks and extra toilet paper online.
Smart.
And I'm going to buy an ounce of weed. And I was the only one who had toilet paper, masks, and weed on campus.
Most popular girl on campus.
No, genuinely.
See, you put that in Yik Yak, you would have started a riot.
Yeah,
Everybody trying to find
probably
you.
would have like robbed my apartment. Well, so here's the thing. I was at UNH because I transferred from Auburn to UNH my junior year, and this was my senior year. And so we all went home for spring break, except I couldn't because I was covering the hockey's playoffs. So I had to stay. And so I didn't go home for spring break, and they just emailed everyone and said, don't come back. So I was literally the only person on campus because I had to stay to cover the hockey.
That's
playoffs.
probably fun for like a day or two.
It was horrible. I lived in a basement apartment with no windows.
Same for me during the pandemic. I didn't care because it was a great location, and then you're in there 24 hours a day, and it gets a little disorienting.
All I did was smoke weed and play Xbox. That's it.
Do you remember the draft that year?
Yeah.
Where it was like all the GMs drafting from home, and you got to see everybody set up.
Bill with the dog.
Oh, that was the Nike year. That's right.
That was a great meme.
And it was the only thing that was going on because there were no sports. People were like binge watching shows during the pandemic. I did a couple. I watched Tiger King, but I think I watched it like a month later than everybody else. I was just going back. Here's how boring I am, Kendra. I was going back and watching old college football games.
Oh, me too.
Like in their entire, it was like, all right, and especially like older games that I hadn't seen. So it started with me watching like the 05 Rose Bowl, right? And then I watched the Brady game, the Orange Bowl against Alabama, and back in like, so people were, because it was all repeats on TV. I remember the weirdest thing being, I would sit and watch, remember they would just constantly show old games on TV, and I would watch whatever. And it got to the point where if I like had to go eat or something, I would just look up, oh, I wonder who won this game. I'd look it up. And then like the first live sporting event that came back after months and months of doing this, I instinctively went to look up who won. Because I had gotten so used to that.
Who did the Patriots take in 2020?
They traded down to Kyle Duggar.
I remember I was on Instagram Live in my apartment, and I have never, ever gotten this mad, but the Jags picked CJ Henderson, and I literally threw my remote at my TV and went off of Instagram Live.
And you were right.
I literally have
One did
never
not
been
work
that
out.
mad in my whole life. I just remember being like, I have to go. And then I posted a story of me chugging like a margarita.
Let me ask you this. So the Jaguars are picking right behind the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
Assuming Carter and Hunter are gone. What is the maddest you would, as a Jaguars fan, what is the maddest you would be at the Patriots pick?
Honestly, I can't really get that mad at it because either way, they're going to get Graham or Genty. And it's like, I don't want Genty. Or like I don't want Genty.
So would it be Mason Graham then? Who I don't want the Patriots to take, but.
Probably. Yeah.
Why don't you want Mason? Oh no, you do want Mason Graham.
I want Mason Graham. I want Mason Graham, or I want Membu, but you don't take Membu at that spot.
I don't think this is that kind of draft. I think if you like a player, you take the player.
Trevor just needs so much help, dude.
Membu would help him.
That's
or do
what
you
I'm
mean
saying.
like? Oh yeah. There's like 7 or 8 guys, right? Genti's kind of different because he's a non-premium position, but he's a blue chip player. But Campbell, Membu, Warren, Walker, like that whole group. I think McMillan, right? They're all similar caliber players. So if you're trying to target a specific position, that's one thing. But Membu on the consensus board right now is like, what, 9 or 10, I think?
Yeah, and taking a running back at 5 is just crazy.
That's more of a reach than taking the guy that's projected to go 10, taking him at 5. That's not a reach in this draft. That's all. The difference between 4 in terms of where the players are ranked, like 4 and like 12 is really not that big. So if they take Membu, is it a little higher than he's projected to go? Yeah, I wouldn't call it a reach or anything like that. Especially if you can get a trade back, great. But if you can't, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to get a little ahead of yourself.
And my thing is, too, like, I don't think that ETN and Tank Bigsby are, like, you don't need a running back. Like, ETN, I get that they're not going to re-sign him, whatever. I think Tank was a great player last year for them. He played a lot better than he did for them their rookie year. But that's the thing, is that Travis, fine in space, whatever, he can't block, but Tank can. So you have a guy to do both of those things serviceably.
The thing about Genty, though, and I say this from a Patriots point of view, too, you're not drafting Ashton Genty because you don't have a running back. You're drafting Ashton Genty because you believe he is an elite playmaker and like there's not a running back that's going to supersede him. The thing that would bother me about taking a running back high, and I think this applies to Jaguars too, even if guys are on expiring contracts or whatever, it's not just Genty. This entire running back class is stacked. I was shocked today that the Felger, most exciting running back class in 10 years, Felger and Maz Big Board picks like 3 of the most boring players at the position in the class. I was kind of bummed. But you can get a starting caliber back.
This draft
definitely
has
in
so
the third.
many.
Yeah, maybe even later on. And there's all these different styles, so you don't really have to worry about fit because you can find the guy you want. Is Ashton Genty better than all of them? Yes, he is. He's a different caliber. You don't need that caliber of back to be successful. It's nice to have. Certainly nice to have. And somebody is going to be getting a great player in Ashton Genty. I don't think he's make or break. So if you wait a little bit and you draft one of the Ohio State guys, or you draft Dylan Sampson, or you draft, I know some people, I'm not quite as high on RJ Harvey, but some people have RJ Harvey in that conversation. Caleb Johnson, right?
Yeah.
You can get a back that can come in and be a 25 carry a game guy. You don't need to take Ashton Genty in the top 5 to make that happen, unless you really want to build your entire thing around your run game. But oddly enough, some of the teams up there, the Patriots, the Jaguars, have quarterbacks. So they don't need to do that. They could, but they don't need to.
But you need a line for someone like that. That's why
yes.
running backs are finishing pieces, and that's why a team like the Patriots, a team like Jacksonville, pretty much any team that is drafting in the top of the draft should not prioritize a finishing piece, because you're not at the top of the draft because you need a finisher.
And by the way, I hate this. I hate how much running backs have been devalued, but this is just what it is now. This is just what the league is. Also, there's that weird thing that if he goes top 5, he's like, what, the 3rd or 4th highest paid running back in football?
Yep.
Because of the rookie contract scale. So it's like the inverse of the quarterback thing, where you draft quarterback high, he's super underpaid, and you can take advantage of that. Well, no, now you're actually paying your rookie running back like a ton of money comparatively. That's why I don't get when people freak out about the Saquon Barkley deal. He got the same money as Darius Slayton. Like, he's getting 3rd wide receiver money. Oh, it's so much money for running back. The Giants are right to not pay him. It's so much money. They gave their 3rd wide receiver that same contract. Who makes more of an impact? I get running back's not the most impactful position, but who makes more of an impact?
Depends on the person. Like, if it's him, if it's Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay those guys.
Right, exactly. And again, you're paying them like a 3rd or 4th wide receiver. All right, we're going to hit a break. Final segment coming up next. Alex Barth, Kendra Middleton on the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere.
Tonight, Skaz back behind the glass. Talked a little draft, talked a little Celtics. What is your setup for the draft, Kendra, Thursday night? I get made fun of. Felger and Maz think I, draw the curtains, light some candles. I'll be, actually, you can come see what I do during the draft. Thursday night, I'll be at the Brook with Joe Murray. We'll be doing a show there. I promise I will be fully clothed. So
what?
That's my draft. Well, because Felger, it's some scene from some movie Maz likes to make fun of.
I have an event that I'm supposed to attend, but I'm going to leave early because I obviously want to watch the draft. And I'm probably, for the general public's sake, going to stay in so that they don't have to listen to me scream and cry.
So you assume you're going to be disappointed?
Yes. Why would I feel any other type of way? What has this organization shown me?
So I don't think it's about the organization. I think it's about this draft. It's just not a good draft.
That's not an excuse to be stupid.
I don't think there's too many stupid picks just because there's you're not really choosing between what would be really stupid would be taking I don't know, Jack Sawyer. And I like Jack Sawyer, but I'm just thinking that next tier group of guys at 5, right?
If the Patriots
taking
took
Gray
Genty,
Zabel at 5.
would you be disappointed?
I'd be disappointed, but it's not a bad pick, all things considered. It's not the best. There aren't that many bad picks for the Patriots in this draft because there aren't that many great picks. There's not that many. It's all just kind of background noise. A bad pick to me would be Will Johnson. He's not going to play, right? A bad pick to me would be Kelvin Banks. There's 2 better tackles on the board. But it's all the gap, as much as I've pounded the table for Campbell, the gap between Campbell and Membu, the gap between Campbell and Genty, the gap between Campbell and Walker, it's really not that big. I just don't think it is. I don't think this is the kind of draft where you're swaying massively from one pick to another.
And I would feel fine with that. I just am so adamant, and I'm not going to change my mind. I don't care how good they are, that taking a running back at 5 is stupid.
That's fine. I'll allow that. But so you don't get any consolation that he is one of the best backs to come through the draft in the last 4 or 5 years.
It's just you have so many other needs, and 9 times out of 10, I am for drafting for value and not for need. But this team needs to get better right now, and they need to get better real bad.
So this is the ultimate test of... I've long said this. I think best player available as a draft approach is a fallacy. Because are you going to tell me that some of these running backs that are going in the 2nd or 3rd round aren't better running backs than maybe some of these edge rushers or receivers are at their position? You're going to tell me that Torrey Taylor wasn't one of the 10 best players at his position last year, but he's a punter. All right, fine. So that's less value. Or it's a less valuable position. Well, now it's not best player available. Now we're putting conditions on it. Genty's a real test of that. Because Genty will legitimately, after Carter and Hunter go, be the best player on the board, and it won't be close.
He needs an offensive line to operate, though.
But if a team truly believes in the best player available, close your ears, blah, 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 who is the highest Madden rating kind of player, he has to be the pick. You can't, after 3, go to the podium and say you took the best player on the teams will do it. But you can't go to the podium and say you took the best player on the board if you don't draft Ashton Genty. That doesn't mean Ashton Genty's the right pick. He's not for some of those teams because drafting purely on best player available is foul. By the way, the other extreme is true too. That's how you end up with Cole Strange. But you can't say, if you're somebody who just says draft the best player available, full stop, you need to be pounding the table. And I'm not saying you are.
Oh, no.
Just in general, this is my chance to get a win over these people. You better be pounding the table for your team to draft Ashton Genty. And some of them are. And way to stick to your take. Good job.
Also, after the Eagles model, I know that is going to be the hot way to do things for the next couple of years.
Copycat league.
I am so for, and I've been this way since before it worked out for the Eagles, build through the trenches, always. If you don't need a quarterback, it's the best statistic move you can make.
I'm with you. Quarterback, and I was saying that last year, even with Joe Alt. Quarterback and then line of scrimmage out. Both in terms of front to back and out towards sidelines. That's a little bit of draft talk there for me and Kendra. This was fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully
the kids' table is always fun.
Kids' table that's what we call the show the kids' table.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
you, me, and McCarthy is the kids' table.
This becomes a regular thing. Maybe we get a little open or something in that. Thanks, everybody, tuning in tonight. Somebody just called in. That's rough timing.
Give them 40 seconds.
Can we get them on? No, they're not even screened yet. This late at night. I'm sorry, Brian. I'm sorry, Brian. Next time I'm on, call in. I'll talk to you. Skaz back there. Trent, great job. Little street team reunion, too, me and Skaz. Joe's back tomorrow night. I will be back tomorrow. I'm on with the morning show for a segment at 9 o'clock, and then I'm in 10 to 2 with McCarthy and Phil. So I will talk to everybody then. Kendra, you are back on Saturday?
I don't know if I'm on Friday because it's like I don't know who's here on
Oh, 'cause
Friday.
okay.
Maybe Friday.
Maybe Friday. Follow her on Twitter, Kendra Middleton.